Is Martha coming tonight? You guys know?
Is it gonna heat?
I was excited. I just created this. Change our policies because we noticed that the temporary facilities, having stay off.
Yeah.
But this was how we
I
had.
remember I was doing that. Yeah. So sure, why the heck is smart? Look at how big this is.
It's served well fed.
I think if you start like bringing them presents.
Well, I think part of this is coming.
So,
Uh-huh.
see, otherwise I was gonna pull it out.
So
then you were gonna have to flip this off. But there's a version of it.
Mm-hmm.
So-
I was like, I thought we just.
bunch of baby quail. Parking lot about. That
Oh,
day.
Tubby.
Awesome, yeah, just following
So do you
along
have
with the
any-
mom.
Specific strategies that help keep it really tight.
I pay attention to the crows pretty closely when I hunt, and I swear they've tried to help me before. I'm like, what are they doing? Not just like they're angry at you, but like they will team up with wolves because where are they gonna get a meal from?
Oh, they want the kill,
Uh-huh.
they can sneak little bits off.
And I've definitely had them before, like, I swear.
Right, it is 6:05 PM. I will go ahead and call to order the July meeting of Hood River Valley Parks and Recreation District. And I think we're starting with the swearing in versus the public comment, is that correct?
Yep, correct. Just so you can get everybody on. So we will the bosses, yeah.
That would be Ruben.
That's me.
Okay,
Thank you, Christie.
So we have two new board members, since you were just elected. And such Chase and Brian Heck.
we really defeated right in. We should.
You want me to stand over there? or-
Yes, just anywhere where we can see appropriately
Okay.
for photo.
Without the-
All right, all right. Well, Jace, your oath is on top, so let's start with you.
All right.
We wanna do these together? No. Okay, all right. I state your name,
I, Jace Costello,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and will faithfully execute the duties
and will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of a board member
of the office of a board member
of the Hood River Valley Parks and Recreation District,
of the Hood River Valley Parks and Recreation District,
which I have been elected.
to which I've been elected.
All right, round two.
Thanks, Ruben. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Want you to sign?
Yep.
There. Now. Mr. Hackett, okay.
Yes.
Oh.
No, wait, let me, okay, hold on.
Yeah, it really helps to follow along. Okay, I state your name,
I, Brian Hackett,
I solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and will faithfully execute the duties
and will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of a board member
of the office of a board member
of the Hood River Valley Parks and Recreation District,
of the Hood River Valley Parks and Recreation District,
to which I have been elected.
to which I have been elected.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You sign right there, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Good.
Okay.
And then we got this before the meeting minutes too. So, we are going to start off with appointing the 2025-2026 officers. So this is the first agenda item that we do in all of our regular first meetings of the new year. And so every year we take a look at appointing possibly new or returning officers. And so there's three positions in our bylaws that we select, and that is the president of the board. The president of the board is the person that presides over the meetings, and also usually will meet with me about agendas to help finalize the agenda and put forward. It's usually the main contact of the person that I report to. I do report to all 5 board members equally, but the board president is usually the one that I'll be checking in with things. And then the vice president will sit in for the board president if they are not there, and then we'll also just kind of back up the board president if needs be. And then the secretary position, in years past, they would have the secretary do all of the note taking and that sort of thing. They delegated that to staff years ago. I think that it works best there. So we have our staff do record the meeting minutes and that sort of thing, but the secretary also is the co-signer of the legal documents and the minutes and things like that that we have to have here. So those are the 3 positions. And so usually we just open up the floor to nominations, to see if, people are interested in nominating someone or being, in one of these positions.
Can the president do it again, or
Yes.
is there okay,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it wasn't like, you could repeat it if you want, I mean.
No, we've had multiple, couple year term presidents that have kind of gone back to back, or some that have been on and then come back as president before.
Just so I know, was this their first year doing it, or have you done it?
Yes.
Okay, well, I would nominate Christie to hold that one, again, if that's possible, if she's willing. I think
Yeah.
she's ran a very tight ship and just really very open to everybody, and
I second that nomination.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we want to wait? Should we go through all 3 of them and vote together?
Sure.
Yeah.
So then the next position would be, the vice president position. Last year it was, Martha. And,
does anyone know if she wants to do it again?
I have checked with her. I
Yeah.
asked if she would be okay if I nominated her. She said yes. So I would like to nominate Martha for Scope as vice president.
Does anyone else want to do it, just so we're. Okay, all right, then I second that if that's the case. And who's the secretary? Okay, well, I'm new here, so I'm happy with that too. So I don't know about how much you don't want to do
If
it.
either of you would like to take over, I signed a lot of things last year,
Yeah.
but I gotta say, President was here quite frequently to run and
Yeah.
Martha had backup pretty well, so also too late, you're already nominated.
Yeah.
Also Kelsey does wonderful with minutes, and then President has looked over those quite closely. So I'm just throwing that out full. I don't mind being secretary again, but I also don't mind if you'd like to take a roll at it.
My only question is, are you close, you're nearby, right? So it's easy for you to get here for signing up. You live in this area close, like, yeah, okay. Yeah, can I nominate you for that too then?
I'll second that nomination.
Sure.
Right, so I guess I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
call the vote. All right.
All right.
So we'll vote of the same officers that we had in the last year.
Good.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
Next year we'll get him, Brian.
Great.
I just. I'm even.
I got your guy here.
Public comments.
Okay, and we do have our expected public comments. Mike, would you be able to hand me that?
Gotta check their name, hold on a second.
Start this
I
time.
guess, I guess it's, we don't really need to look at this one.
Tell me when you're ready.
Ready.
Good evening. My name is Nan Notaboom and I live in Odell. Okay, first of all, thank you guys for the gift. It's very lovely. It's still alive. It's not a kitten. I still love it. I want you all to know that I chose not to pursue my board seat for 2 reasons. I kind of got wrecked by the election. I was badly disappointed at the misinformation that was spread on social media, namely Nextdoor and Facebook, and wildly disgusted that the local Republican Party would spend $10,000 to defeat a community center and swimming pool. Second, I failed to guide the board to a successful funding measure and believe that y'all need some fresh ideas. I am thrilled with the current board and wish you every success. You have a world-class director and supporting staff. And now, thanks to your public comment policy, you can no longer argue with me, and I have a couple suggestions. First of all, I cover some municipal meetings and they all do council comments or board comments at the end. And I think I would love to see y'all do that, like 2 minutes, whatever you wanna say. You got something that that's really important to you. I see you, Jason. and you wanna make sure that people don't forget about that, I would love to see that be part of the meetings, just a little for this. You don't have to talk every time, all right? And you do have to limit them, you're right. Second, you probably have this coming up, but I want you to make sure, I think you should give the new members and just refresh for everybody the true story of Barrett Park and why there are no ball fields there.
Yes.
And the role that Parks and Rec played in that, and the role that the county played in that, and so on. There's a lot of misinformation still out there. And we need to be, you need to be able to address it when that misinformation comes up. Because we didn't just forget to do, yeah. Finally, I have vacillated personally on Barrett Park. I have gone from land banking to we gotta sell it to this to that, and I'm just gonna put my feelings out there for today. Which is, I hope that you have the guts not to sell it. I hope you have the guts not to sell it. Think about all the voices, not just the loud ones. Think about the whole community and think about the future. I love you guys. I wish you the best. Peace out. Nice job on the director's report.
Yeah.
That's all. Okay, thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
I'm going home.
Chris Carlin.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I read the written comments that, were delivered to the board for public comment. And I'm not gonna endorse all of it, but, the one comment about having a YouTube channel, I think is very wise. And I would ask you guys to consider that recommendation. The rest of it, you can decide for yourselves, but, I actually watch a lot of public meetings on YouTube and I find it very helpful. Because it's easy to access and easy to do. Plus, I think you could, there may be a way to use it as part of your communication for the upcoming bond measure. So that's my 3 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Inflation. bond.
Okay, just double checking, is there anyone online now?
There is no one online.
Okay. All right, so we will move on to the minutes then. Yeah, I guess it's. Sets of minutes. Just looking at.
Yeah, sorry, the second
Says
set of
in the
minutes
packet.
were not in the packet. They were added, today.
Oh,
So,
okay. I didn't
um,
review the special meeting minutes then.
we can bump those to the next meeting if we want to do it. That was in August. It was just,
If it
if
depends,
I left-
I glanced at them online, but I.
if enough
You
people
put it-
looked at
well,
it.
They were added online around noon today, maybe
I
one
can check
or
the folder
two.
at 4 o'clock.
So,
I'm fine with them. But if you wanna look at, I mean, I looked at them, I didn't see anything glaring on the special ones, because I looked at, whatever I looked at. at 4
with that
o'clock.
short meeting, that was
Yeah.
just the motion to, for the vote, to allocate funds.
Yeah.
SDC funds, but
So were 2 others able to review the July 2nd minutes?
I wasn't here today.
Right, I guess you weren't there, okay. I don't personally like to personally approve of minutes that I haven't reviewed, because I don't know if they're accurate.
No.
Did you have it?
I just read through them now.
Oh, okay, great, so we'll.
I read the
okay.
other ones earlier, but I just, quick, so I don't
Okay.
see anything to change.
Wonderful, okay. So then we can entertain a
You want a
motion.
bucket, or are you okay then?
No, I'm good, I just won't vote on the July 2nd. So motion to approve the June minutes, let's start with that.
I make a motion to approve June minutes.
Second it.
Second then, sorry,
Yeah, no, take Martha, I'm plenty.
I'll second. The
Okay.
motion to approve minutes.
And
Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve, or do we need to? Make a motion to approve the July 2nd special meeting minutes as well.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of, let's do the June first, of approving the June minutes.
Aye.
Okay, all in favor of approving the July 2nd minutes,
Aye.
and I'll abstain. You abstain.
Oh, yeah, extension's an option.
uh,
I mean, I wasn't here for either meeting.
Yeah.
so-
not normally. Usually you're supposed to either vote yes or no,
Right.
unless you have a conflict of interest,
Yeah.
then you can allow that to on, but,
I mean, I wasn't here.
yeah.
Right, and I didn't,
So I
because I reviewed the materials earlier, so,
I was just going to, it doesn't make sense to vote no.
Yeah,
right.
and I'm happy to join the majority.
Just gotta get that no out of the way early and then, you know.
Okay, I can go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So I'll vote yes on the other. Okay, got that. Okay.
That's all. Good.
Yeah, you're up.
Okay.
Meeting dates.
Yes, another thing that happens at the very first meeting of the new fiscal year is to approve the meeting dates. We do meet on the third Wednesday of every month, and this is the third Wednesday of every month listed out for the resolution. And it does not mean that we can't necessarily change a meeting if there is a date that conflicts or is too close to a holiday or something throughout the year. We do have the ability to change that. We just have to make an update to our website. But this is just state law that we're following here.
And then just ask a quick question, I mean, just with the Zoom, I mean, is Zoom an option for board members?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
We, I mean, we have it at the library.
Yep.
I want to be respectful of how you guys run your.
Yep.
What I love is that they're already programmed in my calendar, so.
Goes in there, so.
Like, I'll add them later. Oh, wait.
Mine are there.
Yeah.
Okay. So we entertain a motion to approve those dates for the meetings.
I put forward a motion to approve the dates as described in resolution 25/26, number 1.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
We have a demo of that. Sorry.
The next is communication.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have a slide for it.
Okay.
Um,
We'll go back to public comment.
yeah. So, we will talk about that one. That one was, there was a public comment there listed in the packet that hopefully you saw as well. This is one of the things that, we just have not done in the past. Technology's changed a bit, and it's become a little bit easier now with the new Zoom, service that we're using with, Zoom webinar. There's actually a way that we can broadcast to YouTube live right now. We could have it broadcast, we could set it up. And then it would stay on that. It's something that we have talked about in the past with the board, and they have not wanted to have it posted before. There's kind of pros and cons of things. The pros definitely the transparency side, that everything that we're doing is up there. The only cons was before was a little bit more work for staff to be able to get everything up there, because sometimes you have to edit a little bit of parts, and there's a little bit more that we have to do if there's executive session, some other things, but we can work through that. And then the other is just people taking snippets out of context and sharing it online and things like that. But the fact is, if we are recording these, we're doing video record, people can do public records requests for them at any time, so they could become public record anytime as well. So I think that in today's day and age, most places are posting, or especially larger places are posting all of their board meetings, and some things we have heard is issues around transparency. So that's something we definitely open to.
So just so I'm clear, this would be to do them live on YouTube, is that the plan, or that would be the plan?
Yeah, I think that's probably the easiest
Everyone
way is
understand?
to go ahead and just, instead of sharing the webinar link, now we'll just be broadcasting straight to our YouTube channel.
And there's usually, then it's also stored on there so they can
Yeah.
watch it at a later date, obviously,
Yeah.
too, right? Just like all the other board meetings, so that's how we would do the same kind of thing.
What is the recourse now? I mean, I get, YouTube having, tiles of all of our meetings that
Yeah.
someone could go to. What do you do? What do they do now?
Right now, they're not anywhere where the public can see. We do keep them just like in our file system.
Yeah, you reach out.
And then if people would like to
They do
request
for
it,
that.
we can send one over to them, but they're not able to go to our website and actually just look for them. There's when we do like something like an executive session, or like at the beginning of this meeting, when people were talking about hunting and fishing and whatever, and if we're recording, we would usually go back and edit those parts out. And so it added some time that we would have to do to do it. There's I think we just have to be more vigilant with when we hit the record button, when we hit the broadcast button. And stopping all of that during the meeting, and I think that's how most places do it, to make sure that they get it all. Ours was, we would usually just turn on, let it start recording, and then if we had to set it out, we would make that.
And along those lines, with the meeting packets, are those published?
Yes.
And maybe the only point to point out is like typically it's like not the director being the IT person. You know, and so, you know, we would have to configure that.
Yeah, Kelsey can help, with running the Zoom and such. I'm usually doing it just because I am the IT guy.
A suggestion I got a few months ago and talked with city official about this, because the city does this,
Right.
is, you don't have to have them posted indefinitely either, so we don't need to decide that now, but we could say we'll post them for a year or whatever time period, so that it doesn't become this like, there's years and years and years, I mean, it's just a possibility in the weeds. The
And it's
details
supposed
of
someone
this.
digging through to find that one little soundbite or something
Yeah.
or whatever. I can't imagine that's a huge issue here, but.
Well, what other parameters and safeguards can we put in place, like turning comments off or locking it so you can't take snippets, like what functionality is there?
I don't think that there's a way to lock it so you can't take a snippet, because anyone can do a screen record of it. The comment side, I will have to look into.
Turn off
Yeah.
comments.
Okay.
And we also could try it out, see how it goes.
Yeah.
It's not like if we decide to do it, it's a forever decision.
I mean, I think definitely we need to have some kind of record that's shared with the public of the result of the meeting.
We have
Well,
minutes, yeah, that's
Minutes
required.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are still there.
Those do get published. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
sorry,
Yeah, they're
my previous
published.
question was, okay.
Yeah.
And we, you know, obviously post the agenda and we have the packet.
Right.
That's posted online. I mean, the other consideration could be like the slide, you know,
Post the slides.
these slides, which I think are often
With the recording.
helpful.
If no one, cause Marcy was like, you were saying you didn't wanna, cause everyone's face is on this. Like, I could do the recording and like the PowerPoint kind of thing. You guys don't want to.
So it's just our voice.
Like, we should figure something that I go like that.
Well, I mean, I think,
Might be a little bit more work, but.
but I think if we do this, we do it all in. I mean,
Yeah,
that just,
right, mine as
yeah,
well.
you know.
Can we zoom in on the state of this room to then maybe then help us sell the bond?
We did have the ceiling start leaking one day, the the board was the best.
Like,
It looked like I had planned it. I did not, I promise.
So how about we try for 3 months?
Okay.
And then reevaluate?
Yep.
Starting at the
Yeah,
next
try.
meeting.
Yeah, at the next meeting.
And then would you like the slides to be posted too? or-
But they'll be in the meeting. You'll-
At least-
you'll-
Yeah, at least in the,
Yeah.
yeah, why don't we just start with
They'll be on
them
the video.
in
Yeah.
the video?
Yeah. So the slides are difficult. I think they're a little, a bit out of context. If you
If you
post them
don't,
on their
yeah.
own and you're not talking about what they are. Where I'd rather if someone's looking at a slide, if they are listening to the video as well.
So what we'll be seeing, those slides, like basically what we're looking at
Yeah.
here, that's what we'll be seeing.
Yeah,
So
and
the little-
probably the little,
little
yeah,
triangle
exactly.
or square.
That.
Rectangle.
Do we have recording turned off for the public right now too? If they were on the other side, could they hit record on their own device and capture?
Yes,
Okay, so
there's no way to turn that off. If a person wants to
on
record
each
something
side.
on their screen, they can, it's not something they do through Zoom.
that's
But
what
you can just click and record whatever you want
Yeah.
using software that you have on your computer.
exactly, but I mean, it's easier to just like also record the Zoom meeting you're on. I just wondered if that was turned off.
Yeah, I don't think you can record a meeting that you're not a part of
You're
on
not-
Zoom.
You're not the,
Administrator
You're
or
not the
the,
host,
yeah,
yeah.
running it. I don't think you, but there's,
Yeah.
everyone's got software on their computer where they can do it anyways, so.
how do we make this known to the public?
It'll be in the meeting.
It'll be.
Yeah.
We can check the minutes.
I
can
just,
do
it's
that.
online,
We can
I
do
don't
it.
know, social media.
Yeah.
Like, hey, come on, either
Now
P
you're-
Square,
Yeah.
Zoom,
Yeah.
or YouTube.
I mean,
whatever.
it's
Chris is
Meeting's
gonna-
available
Right now,
on
it's
YouTube.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
Do a shout out.
When we post in the newspaper and all that.
And is there a way to show, do we record usage?
Yes.
Like views?
Well, no, like someone views, I guess it's just views
Yeah,
like
Yeah, that's on
YouTube.
YouTube.
shows
Yeah, okay.
It'll
Yeah.
show
related to this, what Kelsey just said, I think having a bit more social media posts that are like about what the board has discussed and decided and things like that would be useful. This is not really on the board, but just as a, you know, if there's something we think is really important coming out of a meeting, that we help relay that as something to share it on social media.
So like a scheduled like Thursday afternoon post
Yeah.
following a board meeting, just like recapping like the three distinct
Go,
or
go
like.
here to look at the
Yeah,
results of our meeting.
main, like these
Click.
top things were discussed.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, that would be
That
great.
would- Easy to add in. Thank you for that comment.
Yeah.
Basically to have that, like, one of the staff recorded to just give a speech, like, just kind of recap, or what was that? I'm not fully understanding that.
Yeah, so like, so following a board meeting
Yeah.
on like the Thursday, for example, if like every month we just scheduled
Mm-hmm.
on Thursdays, cause you can schedule it out.
Mhm.
To have, you know, like, here's the recap of, you know, what Parks and Rec did, and now, congratulations, we'll have more pictures to take. Of board members in action, but, you know, we could just easily put, you know, the items that were discussed at the board meeting.
Oh, just like
Yeah, like
An
a.
update.
Yeah,
Yeah,
update, here are the things the board discussed, you know, and if any major decisions were made, you know, be a great time to post that sort of information. I think that's an easy and great.
those two things, be a
suggestion.
nice little transparency.
Kelsey, how long does it take for you to compile the minutes after a meeting and get them ready to push out or post?
We don't, sorry,
Like an hour.
yeah, but we normally don't post them until they've been approved.
Got it.
That's
So
why
they
there's,
wait a
there's
month.
always a lag on minutes being posted.
Got it.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, I make-
Sounds like I don't think we need a motion for the video, for the YouTube, right? It's not.
No, that's just that direction. It's all good for it.
Okay, so I think we're on to the capital projects then. Did you, so? Yeah,
Oh, no.
that's in the advisory
Okay.
council update, I
So,
would think, right?
Bridge funding for
Okay.
capital projects then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so, this one is, this hilarious, we had this on our agenda and a member of the, Bridge, Authority, contacted me yesterday and was just like, hey, what's this about bridge funding for capital funding, for capital projects? And thought that we were looking
Yeah.
into something, and
See
then
that.
Kelsey was doing the slide deck and she
Yeah.
put a picture of the Hood River Bridge, and I was like, all of a sudden it clicked for me. I was like, oh, that's why he
Yeah.
contacted me about that. So
Yeah.
anyways, I changed it. Bridge in, the definition of the funding bridge, and next time I'll be a little bit more, clear on it. So we're looking at funding bridge, are doing a funding bridge for capital projects. So, we have had a person, while we're looking at money for the Indian Creek open space. There's a person that would like to give a charitable donation of $50,000, but has already maxed out what their contributions for this calendar year. And so they were interested in since we need the money in October or September, if they could sign a contract with us, that would guarantee that they would pay, before January 30th. And if we would be able to front the money, we've checked with legal counsel, he says that that's okay, it would all happen within the same fiscal year. And so, we just wanted to bring this to the board to see if the board, would approve of us making these sorts of arrangements and would be able to delegate, staff to maybe up to a certain dollar amount to fund something if we have a contract that has been reviewed by legal and is okay with them to pay back that. This is kind of a unique situation here, but in case there was others that came up, I didn't want to tie it to just this one specific thing.
So I have a question then. So how come we need the foundation to take donations? Why, how come? I mean, I thought that was one of the reasons we formed the foundation is because it was
The money would go to the foundation.
Right, we go
Yeah.
to the foundation. Oh, so this would go to the
Yeah.
foundation. We're signing the contract to front the, oh, I see.
Yeah.
So Parks and Rec is finding the money, but it's going to you
And
guys.
then we,
Or
and then
yeah,
the
foundation.
district would get reimbursed.
Yeah, so they would probably have to be in the loop on the MOU or the contract or whatever we typically
got
signed.
Got it.
Yep.
Big chunk of change. I definitely
Yeah.
want to support somebody's tax burden.
Thank you.
And just in terms of future instances, I wouldn't mind you coming to the board for permission or consultation. Just when you'd mentioned, blanket authority up to a certain amount.
Sure.
And I'm just saying, I don't mind discussing it and having that come to the board each time.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I still thought of it in that way, that we would be discussing this now as a scenario that could apply to
Yep.
other times.
Sure.
That each time it occurs, it would come to the board, because there is some risk
Yeah,
that the person does not follow through with the contract.
I honestly, I wouldn't want to do it without the board, so I misspoke there when I was saying debt grant, and I just wanted to know, is it okay for us to talk about and say that the board has been okay with this and make these sorts of deals, but the actual deal will be approved by the board?
No,
Yeah.
cool. I think if nothing else, just to hear, it's just nice news with that. It's nice to hear, I get these meetings and to say it, on YouTube.
Yeah.
This is a foundation question too. Is this new? Is this
Oh,
new?
it's not new news. It's an additional pledge beyond the pledges that have already been pledged.
Okay,
It's an
okay, that's
additional
what I-
amount.
Roger.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I didn't know if I should be excited or like.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's one that is not in the current pledge.
Cool.
list. Yeah.
Awesome.
Can I make a comment?
Mm,
No.
no, sorry.
All right. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, afterwards. Do you need a motion for this?
Thanks.
I thought it was more of just like because there's no actual proposal here, it's
Right.
just, is the board okay with that? And I think that I see that, with us starting to make those sorts of deals with people, but the official deal will come to you, and I think that that's gonna be a whole lot, after you all have to approve the contract. I think that I could just count that as staff direction,
So
as long as
we're not funding the bridge.
we're not funding the bridge. And and unfortunately, the bridge is not funding our project.
Does the district and or the foundation have the ability to promote this deferral again as an option for
Oh,
others?
that's an option.
Because if we're talking about every angle we can, this is a pretty sizable start to something that could be helpful. I mean, people are,
It's a sizable amount. It's awesome. It's just one more drop in the bucket.
Of course.
I mean, it's, but as an option though, it is interesting. I don't know how we get the word out, because what we don't want to do though is have someone say, well, I've got $250 that I can pay you in January.
yeah.
And we've already had some discussions on how to break and bifurcate the grade, the levels of donation and who, that it adds a complexity.
Correct. And
No.
the risk, is Christie said, is still there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would personally prefer to see this one out and make sure this one works.
Yeah.
That the agreement, works as a test case, and then. If we do a capital campaign for some other project in the future, we will have had a test case, and then maybe that would be the time. To promote that as an option, or.
yeah.
Something that's like a payment plan, someone commits to donating 20,000 a year for 3 years,
Right, legacy style.
I did ask Ruben about the risk behind it, and I said, is there a way to make a contract that is incredibly binding? He's like, well, absolutely, but someone could not pay, just like not to pay. Like, in which case that puts you in the situation where we have to now sue them for breach of contract.
And the image of that is
And,
not gonna.
yeah, and so it's one of those things where like, I think that it's gotta be the right situation. And we have to evaluate whether or not we want to enter that risk and that sort of thing as well. So I think that, yeah, I don't know about advertising it as a big program of ours.
all right,
All right,
we're done with that topic.
yeah.
Advisory council,
So, just so you all know, we're now going in alphabetical order, starting with Joyce Vasella. Now Christy will be the next board member to attend the advisory council meeting. So, Brian, to get you up to date, we have our advisory council meetings happening on the first Thursday of each month. typically in the library meeting room because our space is a little too small. We're doing in alphabetical order by last name. So and Mike is our standing person for this year, for that advisory council. So then that puts you for September and then Martha for October.
Okay,
And then if you all have a conflict, just a reminder that we hope that you'll be able to work that out amongst yourselves. Thank you. Then just a couple of other things, you should now, following the meetings, our plan is with the advisory council is to give the advisory council the meeting minutes from the meeting. And typically that'll be, because their meeting takes place just before this meeting, to allow them time to like see it and say, hey, if there's anything that they want to review. This doesn't have to be formally approved, but it's a way for each of you to see the things that are going on in the meetings, right? And so the advisory council minutes were included in your packet. And then mostly it was like catching up on the administrative items. So we talked about some of the things that, had been happening in the, previous meetings and in our discussions, just about how to, because there's so many voices about how to like maintain, order and making sure that all voices are being heard. And so the group agreed to do loosely based on Robert's Rule of Order, and Kate and Mike will co-chair those meetings. And then we talked about just a little, got some feedback on kind of the musts that a new pool facility would have. And then talked about some of the decisions that the board made from the previous meeting based on some of their feedback, like that a new pool location would be the May Street campus, not, somewhere in the Metarock Valley, those sorts of things. Am I missing any main points, Mike or Jay, since you both were there? Any comments that you have on that?
No, this is all comprehensive. The only thing that came out secondarily afterward, was Coco, reached back to Kate and myself just to capture one final item that, they wanted to name about the levy and requesting a bond with the premise of a levy alongside of it and creating something that we then could not operate. Mark has talked before about Madras and the like, and being in a situation where you have to go back out to constituents and have that discussion of, we got half of what we asked for, but we can't do anything with it. And that being a key component of talking about, what are some important ideas as we discussed, what are our bare minimums? And having to keep that into account when we talk about our minimums for our next facility.
So making sure a bond and an operational levy are put together.
I mean, yes, or not asking for more than we could handle right now with bond. Which is also difficult to speak to, but that is just one of the last caveats that they wanted to add to this discussion.
And kind of be
Important part.
included in
Uh-huh.
this bucket over here.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
Question.
Yes.
All right, so the charter topic, since they're advising this board, I would think that their charter is ultimately either written or confirmed by this board. But the way it's kind of framed there and in the minutes was sort of like they're making the charter. So what's the back and forth on that?
Yeah, I thought it was actually a little bit more with like their charter for like how they, I mean, we've already got like, and maybe charter is the wrong, but we already have like kind of our direction of what we want to get out of the advisory committee, but we thought it would be good if like they had some say in like how their discussion happened and what's like, just have some ownership in it, so that's why we kind of brought the
And it's
charter
like
to them.
typically when meetings take place, we're adding in that now, the group decided that they would like to have chairs and to have somebody help run the meeting. And so those parts will be added. And then kind of like the tenets, like the scope of what they're
This is how they run their meetings, not their mission statement.
Yeah,
So, okay, yeah, so that makes sense as like, yeah, their meeting procedures.
yeah,
But if it's scope,
yeah, that one.
then
was-
that seems like that's. Board is
Ex-
defining that.
Exactly, and I think that we brought that back to them at the last meeting, which was when we went, like, brought them the buckets of what we were very interested in them giving us and that sort of thing, like what they are supposed to be advising on.
They also, I remember, I mean, we talked about, they're not making any decisions there. They're
Right.
essentially just talking, I mean, they might, and even if they do a vote, it's more just like going around to make sure that everyone's on the same page with what they present to us.
Yeah,
So there's nothing that's binding on their end. It was just a matter of just really how to run the meetings a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah, hence why they named, we want to make sure that, bless you.
Yeah.
Dissenting opinions are captured to bring back to the board. They wanted to just ensure that, you know, it all was consolidated.
So, I mean, the charter that we do have does have a purpose, a mission and goals.
Yeah.
Of the chart, of like the council's purpose will be to provide valuable feedback to the district board and staff on key issues. I mean, so to that point, I guess, yes. Nothing has been approved by the advisory council, still right now, there, it's like in draft form of like, these are the things. I think to your point, there are things like we have a mission in this draft charter, which is to work collaboratively with the HRV PRD to support inclusive, sustainable and community-centered parks and recreation services that improve the quality of life for residents throughout the district. I mean, so to your point, I think if the board wants to approve this charter and offer that feedback, I think it's an important thing that we can and should be sharing with you.
So. How? So. How do you want to do that? Because we don't have the current.
So what, right, so
Version of
why
that.
don't I go ahead and we'll send this charter, we'll make sure that we're sending in the draft charter. Because we're putting it, we pretty much like looked at it, provided, the advisory council has provided comments on it. And what we can do is send it out to the advisory council and the board, the board can send me or Mike comments at this point, or Mark, right? Individually, obviously not as a group. And then if there's anything that we need to discuss, we can just continue that conversation until it's.
just to be clear, like, we wrote the draft of the charter,
Yeah.
and we wrote that all based on the feedback of what the board had said they wanted us to do. What we've talked about when we brought the charter to them was more along the lines of how often, or, you know, when do we want to meet, what dates, how far in advance of the board meetings. We talked to them about, you know, having the meeting minutes go out to them so they can look at them in advance before they come to this board, how they communicate with us, things like that. All of the stuff that we're talking, that Marcy just like read and talked about was all stuff that was not tweaked by them, that we originally put in the draft charter when we brought it to the board or to this advisory council. I think that there's kind of two different parts of the charter, and that would be like the policy side of it, and then kind of like the more logistics and how they get it done side of it, and that's.
And how advisory councils are so, you know, the criteria by which an advisory council member is selected.
Yeah.
That sort of thing,
Yeah.
their responsibilities. You know, like attending meetings, participating actively and respectfully.
But I mean, your point though is getting an updated mission statement for this thing.
No, I mean, it goes back to the whole thing, not the topic of like, how do you run your meetings,
Right.
because that makes sense, like, that's the group figures out what is most effective for that group. It just comes back to, if that group is a group that the board is saying like, we need you and we want you to advise us, it seems like it would be the board specifying than what that charter is, and I see what you're saying, like, you wrote it up based on what we had said, but I will say, like, I showed up to that first meeting, I hadn't seen it before that meeting, and it was a little kind of a surprise, a little bit, and like, some of the advisory council members were kind of like whispering to me like questions, like, And I couldn't answer for them because I hadn't seen it either. And so I guess it comes back to that. And it could be just a chance to approve the advisory council's recommended charter. You know, if they're making recommendations to the board, it could be at the next meeting, here's our recommended charter. And then we have a chance to approve or
I think that's a
adjust
great
that.
idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, yeah, so how about this? I will make sure it needs to go out to everybody anyways. We'll send it out to the advisory council and to the board with the plan of the advisory council to offer, if there's any other feedback, you know, we'll be meeting with them first, right? They're not gonna approve it because that, you know, but it will be them saying, yes, we support this, right? And then at the next board meeting, if you all support it, then you can move to approve it then. Does that work? I think that's a great suggestion.
Okay.
Sorry, just, could you describe again Coco's comment to you privately?
Privately to you right now or privately?
Comment.
The
The
private
one
comment.
she made to you.
She made it to me also, so.
Yeah, and
Got
to
it as well.
Kate as well. It was in regard to, as we talked last time at the advisory council, what were our bare minimums for a facility
Right.
that we're looking at to ensure that that request wasn't something that we couldn't operate without a levy. Because before, the way that she felt the impression was linked together, if we got the bond and everything we'd asked for, without the levy, we would have been stuck with the inability to handle it.
Sure.
And so she wanted to note that as we talked about those things, it was important for the board to understand that that should be in consideration of what we ask for. Should we ask for both at the same time if we cannot handle receiving one?
We did talk about that, right? If we
I mean,
did it, if the
yeah, I
bond
could-
passed.
We did, and we talked about redistricting and other
Uh-huh.
items like that.
Yeah, and I think that is something we can bring to the advisory council, but that's kind of a board decision on whether or not they would like, on the strategy of when they put the things out. But the advisory council can certainly advise on that. We have not talked much about the levy and operations with the advisory council, because that's so far the scope has been really focusing on the pool. I actually have stuff in my, later on and under strategic planning, that's exactly what we're talking about today, is the levy and what, you know, what our strategy might be around there. But Martha, you're absolutely right. When we talked about that, we said if the bond passes and the levy does not, we would not be able to move forward with the
Correct.
bond. The other way around was a little bit easier. If the levy passed and the bonds didn't, we could still have moved forward with that, but the bond needed to pass in order for the levy to move forward. That's why our whole strategy was yes for parks.
And to that point, I mean, this is the purpose of the advisory, is to bring these things back to us and we send the agenda back to them regardless of how the charter and all that breaks down. It's still us asking for deliberation and information from that selected panel. So if we want to take any of those questions back again with the next advisory council meeting, we can note that and make it part of the agenda.
Okay, great. Jen, you want something?
It's great to see so many people at the event.
Yeah, so, yeah. So, you know, I don't know that we actually have an actual number of how many people attended, but, at one point our architects, one of the architects counted, and there were like 90 people, and it was early on, but people still coming in. So we had well over 100 people attend. The event was great. I think we got good feedback. You know, what, do you all have comments about how it went, what you thought, the feedback you received?
I don't know if this is gonna come up later, but the one thing that I've talked to several people about, that their feedback and their request is that whatever options we do, that we almost do something like, if anyone remembers Streets Alive or whatever they turned their name into, but when they were doing the Heights remodeling and like planning for how they wanted to do the Heights, you know, they had the website that had the three options and it was very clear. So multiple people said that they would love to see whatever options we end up with a very clear, like, look, this is 10, this is 20, this is 30 million or whatever it is. With very clear what, you know, I know we're gonna get to that point and we're gonna probably talk about that, but I just wanna make sure I said that out loud because I heard that multiple times. That they really wanna see, like, what are we buying and like, you know, am I willing to pay 5 or 10 million to move it over, you know, to this other lot? Or is that not even, is that not worth 5 or 10 million to me? Am I willing to shut the pool down for 2 years for 5 or 10 million less? You know, those kind of questions, they wanna see like what these things would cost directly, like some of the big ideas, obviously not, they probably don't need to see the difference between a 500 square feet or a 450 square foot, you know, community room. But the big changes, the big things I think are pretty important.
Yeah, I'll name, it was my perception that, we had a solid balance of people who voted for and against. And when thinking about, are we living in a bubble and who are we reaching and talking to and touching when we put these events on? It was greatly impressive to see that many individuals who were like, I did not vote for it and I'm here right now.
Right.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Showing that they care. I mean, I think it really
Yeah.
indicated, I mean, I felt like the people who showed up who did not vote yes were like, I care about the pool as a community resource and, you know, it wasn't that, you know, they voted no because they didn't think the pool was important. So, I mean, that was encouraging to see, sure.
During the recap with the architects, one thing that they brought up was, that they are going to be putting together, within their contract, it says that they would put together 3 options. And the question was, should we do, one of those as being a refurbish or, a remodel, and then the other 2 being brand new facilities. And, I said, I thought that that would be the best, even though we've, you know, the study, the report is coming out stating that, that it's likely the same amount of time closed, likely the same amount, of money to do a remodel. But just because we heard so much from the public about why can't you just remodel, why don't you remodel it? You know, I mean, it's, we could maybe get a little bit more bang for a buck if we decided to do 3 brand new things, but then we lose the public that might have said, like, you guys didn't listen, we wanted to see the remodel. And so I think that that should be listed as one of the
Seems
options.
like it'd be very valuable for them to see, oh, they're both 20 million or they'll roll 30 million and we get a brand new facility for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
then yeah, why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems, or for only 2 million more, whatever it is. So yeah, I think that would, I like that idea personally. I think 2 options beyond that seems fair.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought we had asked for, was gonna turn into. Did they name longevity though? I mean, if you've already seen this, is there a difference with it refurbished versus brand new?
So the facility, it's the FCA Facility Conditions Assessment. I just got an email. They said that they would have the final draft version today.
Oh.
And just as the meeting was starting, we got the email. So we'll be sharing that with you and the advisory council for review. And then I think I think that they're probably not gonna be editing it any further down unless they see, you know, unless you're like, there is like a big typo or, you know, something like anywhere, but so this is the report. But you know, if you have comments or those sorts of things, you can send that and give that information to us and we can pass along to them for right now. And then I guess the plan would be to just do a major discussion of it at our next board meeting and advisory council meeting.
Advisory council first.
Advisory council first. So.
Makes it hard to guide them a little bit with our questions.
Right, so yeah, I mean, it probably means for board members coming into that, you know, just being, if you have questions, you know, we can help, because I've read through it multiple times now. So, you know, we can either parse down or those sorts of things, and if there's still, there were quite a few things that I was hoping that they could correct or help make a little bit clearer, that, you know, I think the engineers and architects have high lofty language and engineers speak, so we really tried to encourage them to use a lot more plain language and, you know, break and explain, assume that their reader didn't understand. And so, So hopefully I'm gonna be checking for all of the items that I was like, this needs more clarity, you know,
Mhm.
for sure, and then,
And this FCA is not the three options. It is just.
no, this is the
this
facility
this.
conditions assessment, and this assessment will include the cost to replace and it's basically the cost to replace this facility renovated at the basic,
What is that price? Cause the thing that I am always concerned about is people get stuck on price.
exactly.
And then they-
And this is the exact reason why we didn't have it at the open house, was because we didn't want people to get stuck on the price.
But you didn't have, it, you just got it.
Yeah, they've got
Well,
drafts, it's
we
like-
had drafts, yeah.
Well, I mean, but final, I mean, no.
And so,
So can you, what is there?
Let's, I don't,
No, it's
we're
not
not,
important.
I don't
Yeah.
think we're getting into this yet. It wasn't on the agenda to be talking about this report that just came in, that
Right.
they haven't even had a chance to
to review,
read through. I haven't seen it either.
right,
Like, I
Right.
think we should,
just wait
Yeah.
until that, but anyways, it will be in your inbox tomorrow,
great.
okay?
Thank you.
Yes.
About the home. so I
And
can-
then we will plan on presenting, barring if there's any mistakes or that sort of thing. We will be planning on presenting that information to the public.
I'm not against like a refurbished pool. But I don't also just wanna please, because some people wanna hear a refurbish, like focus the refurbish. We need a new pool place and just trying to patch and patch is just not. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think we
just
all-
wanted to put that out there.
We all get to vote on
I
that.
hear, you know, I was here for a small part of it and they, well, isn't concrete just cheap, right? Like the tear it, and it's like. It's really frustrating to hear when the pool's falling apart. I mean, if you go down to the pit, it's pretty depressing. So, refurbishing. Anyways, that was my.
Given that the advisory council will be processing this before we have a chance to give them guidance, I'm wondering if there are some specific questions we want to kind of make sure we send to them, even though we haven't reviewed it, so it's hard to do that, but I think we could think of a few things where some guidance that we can provide the advisory council.
I mean, and so I think that so a couple of things just to note about how it's set up. It's set up by a standard construction estimate process. So they had their cost estimator say, you know, this is the format. So basically the whole document is set up as a technical document so that the cost estimator could go in and take each section and estimate it that way. So we will certainly, when we present it to the public, explain that, and it is explained that way somewhat in the document, but just so you're prepared as you're reading it, that is the reason why it's set up that way. And then each section, they do a good job in the beginning, because I was like, you need to explain a little bit more of like explaining the process and the standards by which they use. And then they take each section and talk about the deficiencies. They give like, you know, the findings, and then the things that they would recommend would need to be renovated in that
That's what we're
particular
gonna see.
section, and the cost.
Does this become the first option then?
It will be based on, yes, so the design one with a refurbish would be based on these recommendations, and it's pretty much would be like the standard to renovate the facility on this, you know, in this footprint. But based on some of their recommendations, there will need to be a slight expansion to accommodate for ADA access. And because basically with anytime you're triggering that, you know, ADA standards, the building was set and fine in the nineties, right? And so once you're doing a renovation, then you have to build to modern day standards. So there would have to be some increase in capacity based on that, on those triggers. but it would be still trying to,
Does it's this facility, does it? Would it look like that?
so some of those items are kind of left to be.
But it doesn't enclose it in a new structure.
It,
Not a new, probably permanent structure. We could have a new type of tent that has like more insulated or something like that. but it-
I mean, I love to talk about this,
Yeah.
but we
Right.
don't have
Yeah.
all the time.
right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And,
so we're
Yeah.
gonna see it tomorrow.
and these are questions that I think will be important to ask, like, so I think that as you're going through it, if you have questions, then I think that what would be, I think, really helpful for them is having all of these types of targeted questions, because I think that they might have their own assumptions about what they think that you all want, or the people want, or what's standard. But, if they don't, I mean, but again, I think, I have those exact type of questions too, so like, I think it's really important. You can feel, maybe we can start, well, I guess we can't do that. Just thinking, but I would just say, you can start sending any questions and comments to me, and we can make sure to pass that along to them.
I think asking when we do float pros and cons and this and that, give us your justification for why. I mean, eventually, as we have compare and contrast options, the justification is really what we're looking for. Please tell us how you got to this, what your logic was behind it. Was it just price? Was it time? Was it X, Y, and Z will really help guide us in some of those decisions that we'll ultimately make.
Something I would ask from the advisory council is their key takeaways. I mean, this is simple, right? You probably do that anyway, but just explicit that, put it out there to have them as a group come up with, maybe it's 5. Guys, choose the number, to bring back to the board, like, what do they think are the most important points collectively from the report? And then suggestions or guidance from them on how to manage the communication out about the report to the public, like get multiple people thinking about that, helping us.
So our plan was to put the report out before the advisory council meeting. The reason is because time is ticking, and transparency is important. And so they need a time to review the report, the findings, and those sorts of things. And in ahead of our upcoming open houses and those sorts of things.
I would recommend sending it to the advisory council and not releasing it to the public. Let them go through their process. And then when their discussions are reported back to us, or even the next day after the advisory council, then if you wanted to
So
publish it
in
more broadly.
August, so that would be August 20th, just to put that in perspective. Of releasing the facility conditions assessment to the public.
I think we'll get a better
Or, I
hit
mean, or
right
August
now.
21st.
August 21st, we're starting to get ready to go back to school, and I think that, that might take a while to push this out.
But if no, it's just the first Thursday. Like,
Well, so the advisory council meeting is the first Thursday, but the next time the board would meet is August 20th.
right, and so the advisory council does its work. And then the day after they meet, you release it to the public. Cause then that gives the advisory council pride of place in terms of their work and their advice to us.
Okay.
And then we release it August 8th or whatever, that Friday.
So they've had time to give advice to the board, which will impart to the board. And then,
We just won't receive that advice directly until the 20th, but at least I've had a chance
okay,
to speak.
Amongst themselves, and then they have it, I would send it to them tomorrow.
But I don't understand that fully, because the board still doesn't have a chance to deliberate on what they've said. Why are we withholding it from the public that long?
Because that gives the advisory council their importance to craft whatever message they want to have to us. And then we release it to the public after they've done their work.
I
Well-
wouldn't frame it as withholding it from
Yeah.
the public. It's about like figuring out how to best communicate it. So that people don't get confused by it or say like, oh, so the pool is going to cost whatever it is.
Oh.
And then that's like you brought up, like that's then what they think. It's like people could do a public information request. and
So I
request
mean,
it.
it's a,
They could-
it's a
Yeah.
public
So they
document
could
now,
request
right?
it, and then we'd provide it to them. I think it's like what I'm getting at, and I think you're getting at is like the strategy about like pushing it out and, as an announcement, like, here it is.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think,
Advisory council.
Yeah.
Right, so who's gonna take the advisory council's
Advice,
suggestions
yeah.
before the 20th when we meet again? You're asking just the district to do that, so the advisory council meets, the district then takes that information and pushes out the next day, then we deliberated on it a week later?
Whatever the advisory council is suggesting and
so.
because then we do the raw data, we do the raw data dump. But then we work on crafting messages with the advisory council, and their.
So we're just really shortening the window of how long it's out there before we get a chance to work on messaging. Because we could give it to the advisory council now and they could look at it and.
And then meet, and on the 7th, and then craft whatever they wanna craft, send it to us. And then we release the document to the public after they've done their deliberation.
Right, that still goes back to August 20th though, unless you're asking the district to do it. I'm missing.
Okay, so I have a
Yes,
suggestion.
idea.
So, every Monday we meet with the consultants, and our, public outreach consultant. So, I think that it might be a good idea to say, our board is concerned just about the message that we want to, like, what is the message? What are the main things that we want? Can you help us craft the main, like, the talking points that we would have for our, like to put on our website, right? One of the other things that we had talked about was like an FAQ, so like, based on what we heard from the open house, compiling the common list of questions. So we do have one of our Parks Foundation board members has said that she's willing to come in and help collate a lot of that data. To get that information, from the open house, the paper surveys and the, the little stickies, right? Into buckets and that sort of thing. So that the JLA can start working on like an FAQ page for the pool option study. So would that be something that you all felt comfortable with
They didn't tell us what they were gonna offer us to do it, like. We have to tell them what we want and then they just redo that? The PR consultants?
we have the scope with JLA.
Yeah.
So we should already have an idea.
I think they wanna know what the feedback from the public that first meeting was, and we're the ones that have to compile that and send it over to them. Cause we still have the raw data, the forms that people filled out, all those surveys, we've gotta get that too. And so they would then take that information and see like, what is the public interested in, what strategy should we go?
So somebody's gonna volunteer to do that, or what do we
Yeah.
do to get that going?
Yeah, someone sounds like.
Yeah.
Someone come
volunteer
in.
to do that.
Okay.
To help
Yep.
put that data in. But so I guess my question to the board is, would you feel comfortable if we got professional feedback from our public outreach consultants on the best messaging strategy for that document and how to put it out?
I'm comfortable with that
Yes.
approach, and then it would be a flipped, there's a benefit of that approach of then maybe the advisory council will have time to hear from the public, like, how did they take it? And I feel like you've addressed my concern of like putting it out there without helping like frame it and explain it.
Without knowing what the information is, it's hard for me to say what
Yeah.
it's holding on, so I mean, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of, we're making a decision on something in the dark, I don't know. I
That's
mean,
kind of what I'm trying to like.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, what, I mean, we're being asked to make decisions on, I have no idea what's in that document.
I mean, it's not, and I don't think that we're gonna change what's in the document
Right.
based on the this stuff, is the document is going to be, what it is, and so.
Right, but why
But
don't?
still, yeah, we don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
If it said that rebuilding the pool only costs $5 million or something, we would need to really like think about how do we explain like why? You have to say,
Okay, the only thing I'll say, what I'll say is ultimately, whatever the.
That is not the case.
Yeah.
But
Imagine
I-
it's
the
not.
only thing- We're here to represent everyone, what the community wants, so if the refurbishing looks like the best option and everyone wants it, then even if I don't want it, I'll hold my nose and whatever.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I mean, so yeah, as far as giving them the information, and let them, and then we can help give our opinion and all that, and we're doing things like the advisory council to, go serve that, so.
I just want to give the advisory council first cut,
Yeah.
because it creates a sense of importance within this organization.
And then on top of that, Brian, I think you bring up a really good point. So then when we send it to the advisory council, we'll say, please, read through this and solicit feedback from the community to help, you form, your input, right? And so like, it's basically like a call, giving them like a call to action to.
Well,
Yeah.
can you tell them when, like approximately when you would be sharing it with the public? So it sounds like the order of operations, I think. Is this report is going to be sent to the advisory council and this board tomorrow
Mhm.
to see. There's gonna be the data compiled tomorrow, then
Thursday.
okay.
Yeah.
Within the next week, it sounds like you have a meeting with the PR company. And you'll ask them if they're able to provide guidance on how to present this information to the public so that it's easy to understand. All that. And the two groups would have already had a chance to review it. But clarifying question, are you asking the advisory council to share it out? Because it did sound like you're like saying, you're gonna email it out and then ask them to share it out.
Mainly it's, no, we will share it.
Okay.
We will share it on our website and then from there, people can share it however they would like. But more, it's like, I think a role that the advisory council can have is trying to get feedback from all of our constituents to help give feedback to you, right? So I think that.
I'm good with the timing.
Okay.
I think also if once the public, that gives if that makes people show up to speak on it, I think that's good too. Like you were about to say.
Work through that.
Okay. Thanks, I think that gives definitely some good areas to go.
All right. Anything else? Additional updates?
So I think this can be pretty quick. You can see, the fundraiser has launched for the Indian Creek Trail Project, Conserve and Connect. Pledges, the pledge amounts have come in very solidly. It's been really pretty neat to see that people are really following through with what they said they would do. I think we only have about 2 more pledges to collect. That's not counting the new one we talked about. And they're basically all coming in at the amount that they said, like one was lower, one was higher, so. Coming in as expected. The second half of this fundraising is gonna be harder, at least in some ways, because now it's gonna be more of the 100, 500, 1,000, 25, and so, it's gonna be a push, the deadline still is kind of needing to get defined, but we're trying to raise 75% by the 20th. That's looking unlikely that will be met, but time will tell. And I think the foundation just continues to operate more and more effectively, we're getting a lot done. A lot of volunteer hours, really speaks to the support that's out there and the community. For Parks and Rec and just for seeing things get done.
Thank you for all your work. And all the
welcome.
foundation. It's real, I very much appreciate it,
Oh.
because I know it's a lot of dedication. So I recognize that very much.
Well, we're
Thank you.
canvassing on Saturday, if
Yes.
anybody wants to join us or pick an area and, we can put you to work.
Yeah.
Have other.
Uh,
projects. I wish you well.
we do continue to look for additional board members. So for instance, Brian has been serving on the foundation board and will no longer be serving on the foundation board in order to hold to the goal of having just one board member and one staff member on there. So we definitely have enough board members in the sense, you know, we're getting everything done and we're following the bylaws. But if you know folks who would like to serve, especially if they are an accountant or a lawyer.
Legal advice and
Yes.
bookkeeping administrative experience or.
But we do, and don't worry, we have the bookkeeping covered. It's just if, you know, having a CPA would be fantastic, yeah. Any questions about the foundation this month? Okay, thanks.
Oh, can you send, I mean, maybe already have, we're planning, can you guys send a nice easy link that we can pass around?
Yes,
and
and
I'll
I'll send it to you. Grace.
Yeah,
Yeah, so well, this is a good check because so I will follow. One of it, it might be better if it's you, not a board member, but follow up because you are all on the distribution list. And so you should have gotten a couple emails already, but it may have gone
Yeah.
to your spam.
Oh, okay.
Because,
Oh,
you
alright,
know,
yeah.
like newsletters, sorts of things sometimes go to spam. So let's check on that and see if it's going to your spam or see if you're not on the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christy and I have a little friendly competition going to see if we can raise the most money.
Marcia, I already know she's gonna win, it's okay.
You're doing great, you're doing great.
All right, strategic planning, this is, timely that we were just talking about the levy stuff right now, so, just a reminder that the two funding options that we have, from, taxpayer funding, for us, outside of our regular permanent rate, is bonds, which is, capital, and that is where we ask for a certain dollar amount to pay back a loan of a bond that we buy in order to buy some sort of capital that has a time limit on it. So usually it's like 20-25 years. Sometimes you can see a 30-year bond, but usually it's in that 20 to 25-year range or so. And you lock it in at a certain interest rate, and then you have your payment amount, and then the taxes each year that people levy against it go to pay back that bond. The other way of doing operational dollars, there's really no way to raise your permanent rate except for dissolving your district and reforming a district, which is a very difficult thing to do. Very rare that districts do it, although it does happen. But the other one is a local option levy, which is asking property owners to levy a certain amount of money toward their property taxes toward a certain operational thing. This one, though, they are approved by voters, but they only last for 5 years. And so you have to go back and ask voters for it each year, or I'm sorry, every 5 years. This, you'll see this oftentimes like with the school district where they've got their local option levy every 5 years that pays for kind of extra things, such as PE and arts and different things like that, yes. And so that's just the background there. In the May 2024 election, we did ask for both a bond and a levy because we had both capital needs and operational needs. We still have capital needs and operational needs. If we're not going to be building the new facility, we would still be up against capital or operational needs because of how our district was formed in the past, being just for specific toward the pool, and then we added other parks and we've spread that out. And we are much lower than most parks and rec agencies. In 2024, this is what the levy looked like. We've been talking about the facility a lot, but we haven't really talked about the levy, and we're not really discussing much of the levy tonight, but we're going to have to start discussing it. So I just want to put a seed in your head of like what sort of questions or things that you want staff to do, what kind of work you would like us to do, so that we can come back and have a levy discussion at a later date. So this is just an example of what we had done. When we were looking at what our operational needs were going to be, we were thinking, okay, if we get a new facility, what would that be? And then also, given all the things that we've added, so, things like, according to our master plan that we published in 2020, that we were going to try to add 29 acres of developed parkland, and 6 miles of trail by the year 2045. Right now, we've already added 20 undeveloped acres that came in 2025. There's this 9 acres now pending over the Indian Creek open space, and then the Parkdale Park. So we're still continuing to add things without any new operational dollars coming in. And then our maintenance level of service is more reactive. We wait till something breaks. We're not going out there and being proactive and fixing things. We just don't have the time. We have one full-time maintenance person that's split between this facility that's failing and the rest of our parks and trails. We have a couple of part-time people that work for us, but we just don't have that. Our equipment lifestyle, our life cycle is longer than what we would like. And we're working out of a 10 by 14 foot shed in the parking lot. We don't have like an actual facility for maintenance. But that's more of a capital thing, but just kind of what we're up against. The aquatic center, pool is currently run with minimal staff. I know that the questions come up, okay, so if we're not expanding the pool and we're not building something, then why would we need any more money? Up until just this last year, we only had one full-time person running the pool. Now we have two, but at the same time, there's been times in the recent years where we've had to close the facility a couple days a week because we just did not have the daytime staff, because we don't have any full-time staff that get like lifeguards and such that and it's very hard to entice people to come work here that aren't students. Students work during the day, so having daytime staff is very difficult to get. So we were looking at getting at least 1 or 2 full-time lifeguard positions that could be the kind of people that we put on weekends and put during the day, things like that. And right now the lifeguards are also the front desk people. That's one of the shifts that they take, is working the front desk. That's not the case with most pools. A lot of pools have like an actual front desk person, especially if we start expanding recreation programming. So that was one of the ideas also, was to have at least a full-time person that was doing that to kind of create like a front desk sort of thing. And so there's some separation, because there's times when this facility is just being run by 2 people during the day, and they're just rotating back and forth between watching for a person coming in and lifeguarding out there that's on the chair. And that's not, there's gaps. There's never a gap at the pool. We always have a lifeguard up there, but there's lots of times where there's signs up front saying, we'll be back, and while they're out there checking chemicals or doing other things. And then if we did make a larger facility, we would need more supplies and chemicals. I said utilities, but hopefully some of the utilities would go down, such as heat, if we have a facility that would attend. Rec prorating is something that has changed. When we were originally looking at this in 2024, we had a certain understanding from the school districts. Some of that has changed recently, where we're not sure if they will charge us for facilities after the 2026 IGA is up. And we did not have that factored in when we originally were asking for money, so that could raise that some. We don't have any of our own facilities, so no fields or gyms. In the last one, we had said that we were going to try and build some recreation facilities within our community center. Now that's looking more like likely that we're just going to be focusing on the pool, so we won't have gym space or other things. So we will have to be thinking about would we be paying for this? That's the schools if we continue to run recreation programs. So that could go up. And then all of the indirect costs as well, of having, whenever we're hiring more employees, it takes more HR help, more finance. When we brought on recreation, one thing that we did not account for, that we had to do, was we brought in a full-time bookkeeper and an admin assistant. Before, that was always a part-time position, but when we had recreation and we added all that, it added considerably to our workload. We did absorb that, although we do also then charge that back to recreation within our budget. But that was an FTE that we added when we added the recreation division. But then also admin was the other part where we don't have, we were just talking about how Mark's the IT guy, but we don't have a specific project plan or a project manager or planning manager. If we were taking on a lot of projects, we would probably, we talked about actually hiring a person that could do all the project management. If it's just this facility and we're not building West Side Park or doing some other things, then we would probably just contract that out and find somebody that could do that. But that was one of the positions, and what was gonna happen was after the projects were complete and you know, 5 to 10 years, they were going to turn into like a parks superintendent sort of position that is now overseeing the maintenance and that sort of thing. And perhaps capital management and planning and things like that. Because we're all kind of split where, you know, we're doing the planning as well as all of the administrative things and all of that over kind of on the admin operation side. And then just again, the kind of the finance and HR expert, we don't have that. We contract right now with a person that does kind of the high level HR and finance stuff that does you know, bank reconciliations, helps with creating budgets and things like that. But at a certain point, when the organization gets big enough, you really need to have somebody that's their job, they oversee that. Right now, again, that's like when people ask like, who is your HR director? Well, technically it's me. I'm the HR director, the finance director, you know, all of these things, but it's at a point where it would be good to have that, at least the HR and finance kind of split out into positions. So that's what we were looking for originally. Whether we got a new facility or not, I think that we have these operational needs with at least on the maintenance side, and if we want to continue on with recreation, trying to decide how, you know, how we're going to fund that. This was the dollar amount back then. I just put this big number of 2024, but what it equated to was 2 full-time maintenance workers and 3 seasonal employees, truck storage and equipment. And the aquatic center was 1 full-time director of the center. And that was in addition to, well, that was when we thought it was gonna be a community center, so we'd have an aquatics director, which we already have that position, and then a full-time director. We probably wouldn't need that if we're not doing a large facility that has all of these other things. But assistant aquatic center supervisor, and that was offset with some of the hours. We've already made that change. That's the one thing that we did do this year. 2 head guard FTEs, that was the position I was talking about for like try and make sure that we're covering daytime staff. And then a maintenance technician, that was just for the pool. Having a maintenance tech, right now, our aquatic supervisor, Ally, does a lot of the maintenance and is going in there checking chemicals. I can remember when he was here, that it's a large burden on that person. And in most facilities, you don't have the aquatic supervisor that is in charge of the lifeguards, in charge of the business, in charge of the schedule and running things and talking to the swim team and everything, running downstairs to backwash filters. Usually we have a maintenance person that's doing that. Luckily, we've had really good people that know mechanical systems and are able to kind of backfill and do that sort of thing, but we wanted to be able to have a dedicated maintenance person. His pools are very complex. And then on the planning side, that was the project planning manager I talked about, HR expert was the positions there. So that is just kind of what we had before. And I just wanted to put a tickler in your head to start thinking about that for August, September, October, to start continuing this planning, this discussion of operational levy and what are operational needs. Things like, that's when we'll have discussions on timing of, you know, we've had talked before, like, can we go out for a bond first and a levy later, or should we go out with a levy, or should we do them both at the same time? This might have been confusing last time. There's lots of pros and cons to those discussions, and we can talk about all of that stuff later, but I just wanted to kind of put it out there that we're gonna be doing that, but also just get feedback from you. Is there anything that you would like to see, any sort of reports or things that you want me to bring to help lead the discussion about operations? Like, you know, perhaps, you know, how we've grown over the years, and our budgets level or FTE level based on how many acres we had and how many miles of trail and that sort of thing, or benchmarks for other agencies and what sort of things that they have, you know, how other agencies do it with how many FTEs per acre or that sort of thing. If there's information that would help you in decision making and things that you would like to see as we bring this to you at future dates.
I mean, you and I just talked about it the other day, the compare and contrast again of. We know we've been working with the numbers we got for a long time, but what did that serve back in the day when it was initiated? Those ratios versus what it serves right now and how you can compare and contrast those to what we're asking for. I mean, we've been on a shoestring for a while. It made sense then. Maybe those comparisons would be helpful for branding and messaging.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just keep getting stuck on how unfortunate some of the comments were in dealing with this when we present, not that data, but something similar, and just having to do the forensics of why this is bad. And yeah, I don't know.
Right, I mean, I do think it's interesting, like, just reflecting a little bit on Togo's comment. You know, and it leads me to be like, what a normal, like, we are already operating under capacity. And having to explain that is a tough one, right? So operationally, the pool needs more staff to be able to operate at the capacity that we are in. And so,
It kind of goes back to that psychological anchoring though, of what does a new facility cost? And now I can't help but think that anything else is more and like, how do I get less? People have been living with this for so long that they don't recognize maybe what that used to buy them back in the day. And they're just like, no, this is great. Water's great. Love the sun. I don't need more than this. They don't understand what stress and strain is really going on there because they've anchored in their mind. This is plenty. Why ask for more? I'm grateful that we have what we have.
I don't know, maybe a video of, is it Heidi? That does everything,
Oh, Ally? Yeah.
Ally. Like, have her put a GoPro on her head. And,
get ready with me day, instead of like, spend the day
and
with
like,
me.
this is my
today.
job title, but this is what I really do.
Uh-huh.
I mean, today we had to call 911 because somebody passed out in the lobby. Gia, yeah, I mean, well, so, but I mean, not to say that this happens all the time, but you know, having to have, responding to an emergency event here is, I mean, while it's 1%, my coined this thing that I really love. 1% of our staff's time typically is like this, responding to this. He calls it the 1% action hero, which was just like such a great way to frame it for our guards. But, you know, we have very little time that we're doing that, but it happens, you know, and like it takes, you know, it totally readjusts your entire day after you have to respond to those sorts of things. So, and you know, something happens in the pit, you know, like walk down and, you know, tube has exploded and spraying, you know, and all of that, and you have to adjust your day and, you know, what you go in planning to do that day is completely derailed by a customer who has now decided that they have an issue with A, B, or C, you know, I mean, so there's lots of things that come up for us that take away from our day-to-day work. And so it's something that is hard to quantify for the public.
And negativity is the easiest way.
Yeah.
That's just the bias takes over and.
I would love to see numbers for what additional operational dollars you would need if we had this facility and it weren't falling apart. So if this facility had another 20 years in it, and we were continuing to operate this facility and the other properties, where should what additional operational dollars are needed? Because it has been explained as like people are overworked and there's burnout, or there's going to be burnout. And so being able to see that difference, and then also, then when we have like, here's what the new facility might be, then it can be framed to as like, here's what you get in addition. Cause it comes back to this question of like, well, why do you need more? You're doing a good job already.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to explain to on just like, when you say things like, well, yeah, it's because the staff is being pushed to the edge and we're doing less with more of a thing. The answer with a lot of people is, great, keep doing it, that's awesome, you know? And I think that it's, you know, it's, do we expect our staff to be, on the edge of burnout? Do we expect our staff to be working with the substandard tools and working out of a shed instead of having a facility? Do we expect you know, that sort of thing? But also like, do we quit saying like, yeah, we can go ahead and take on this extra park, or we can go ahead and take on this extra trail or this extra thing, you know, like the, you know, this extra amount of trail that we're building with the Campbell property and everything. I mean, obviously we want that. We want to complete the trail, but that creates more work for us.
Is there any way to put out or have something that really makes it very clear on what you guys are doing and how much it's costing and what, in a very, not, you know, I know that we get the budget stuff, but I'm saying for the public to be able to see very clear cut. Because I think if they see, like you said, how, you know, how shoestring we're working, and then plus when we have funds like the school district funds that are gonna be going away, you know, there's gonna be a lot of expenses that are gonna be coming up that we can't account for. But we need to be able to, because I think if we ask for more and they're saying, well, it's, you know, you're doing it, but at the same time, I think if we had it more clear, like, well, no, this is why we're not doing it.
I think that I almost think when you said that, I think about that chart or the deck you had regarding what other counties pay. And then linking that to some kind of like acres of parkland they manage.
Yeah.
Right.
With that budget, or
I mean,
I
I
don't know.
keep thinking about like, if we could do some sort of like little visual of like, say people, meet Mark, meet Marcy, meet Kelsey, meet Ally, meet, you know, it's like, we have 8 full-time staff, right? And these are all the parks, these are the
Yeah.
pools, these are the things. When something breaks, these are the people who are doing the work, right? In managing those things. I mean, of course, we have you know, like our part-time lifeguard staff who have been amazing, you know, like, and we have a couple of, you know, maintenance workers who are amazing, you know, but for the most part, it's the 8 people, our 8 full-time staff who are doing a large portion, the majority of the work needed to run the entire district, right? And so like, when you think about it in those terms, like if we had like a little infographic video of being like, when A, B, or C breaks, Anthony gets in his car and drives to, you know, like that sort of thing.
But then don't we just fall into that pit of, we'll keep doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we're talking about a couple different things of how we tell the story and that sort of thing, but it's also just like the data to justify it.
Yeah.
And what really is the issue and how we do it. I think that a lot of that comes from benchmarking and just trying to see like.
I think the data, I mean, honestly, people just wanna see, they need to see the numbers, and that's what was super clear on last Wednesday, like people just, especially for that transparency. Like we can say, yeah, it's needed, or we can say it's not needed, whatever, they just need to see numbers, honestly, especially if we're gonna ask them to up, you know, levy and add, you know, or whatever we're gonna ask them for. I think we just need to be very clear, like, this is why we need this is buying this, and this is where we're at right now, and it's not cutting it.
Yeah.
And I was given the suggestion by a member of the community, tie it to safety too, so
Yeah.
like. What should the staffing be to be? I mean, it is at a safe level, I know you follow the state guidelines and stuff like that. But you could argue that if staff are burning out, then it's not really at a safe level. I think, as much as we can get into specifics is better, because I was just thinking kind of as you were describing that, I'm like. I think most working professionals are tired
Yeah.
and burnt out and think they're really working really hard and are doing a lot of different things. And so I don't know how well that point like resonates with people, because they're like, yeah, I feel that too. You
Right,
know, I
right.
think a lot of people feel that.
And like another stat, we've gone through 4 full-time maintenance people in the last 6 years, you know, like people do the job and whenever they've left, they've said, you know, they've either left us, like one went over to the county, you know, across the street for more money. And there's others that were, well, actually, I think they all pretty much left for other jobs where they could make more money doing, and doing
Less work.
less work or not as stressful of work. I don't know, just why don't we- Yeah,
Predictable.
yeah.
Power.
Yep.
So
And
is the metric then, you know, managed parkland, acres of managed parkland and assessment? I mean, then that gets us out of
I mean,
the personalities and like, we'll keep doing it.
and like the number of hours needed to like maintain those
No.
things by a staff member.
I don't know. I don't know if that's convincing, because then it's just like, you're just trying to add staff. I don't. I don't know, it's frustrating because I don't wanna reinforce failure.
Mhm.
And I feel like so much of this Band-Aid approach is just like, it's asinine when you're talking about public dollars. It's like the $500 toilet. I mean, it's.
It's hard to explain to people what deferred maintenance is done do
Yeah.
to the future too, you know,
Right.
like us just deciding, well, let's wait, let's do it later on all of these different things and how things are just breaking down. It's also just like the beautification stuff. That I am not happy with. And this is no shade on our maintenance staff or anything. They're working as hard as they can, but I'm not happy with the look of our grounds lately. I was driving down Main Street right here and there's weeds growing up through the sidewalk all along the area that we are supposed to maintain right there. It is, when they are running around from one broken sprinkler head to one tree across the Indian Creek Trail to a leak in the pool and all this stuff like that, it's hard for me to go up there and be like, hey, can you line trim that whole area along there? It's starting to look a little shoddy. But you know, that's where we're at, is there's both kind of the aesthetic stuff that we've got going on, but then there's also just like the deferred maintenance, all of those things, stuff that's just starting to break down. Well, it's not bad yet, but you know, it'll get worse and worse. So, but again, that goes back to whether, you know, whether or not it is a story that we're trying to tell or something we're trying to back up with numbers. So I think this gives me some good direction on some reports and some analysis that you're wanting me to do, and I can, and like I say, it's coming up, but we've got a little bit of time, so maybe in August I can kind of come back with a little bit of information for you all and see like what is this doing for you and what else do you need to make some sort of an informed decision to really talk about this, because this fall, I think that this will be a big conversation piece that we're gonna have to be trying to figure out of like, okay, so we get a brand new facility, how do we still take care of all this other stuff? If we're adding a new portion of the Indian Creek Trail, and we want to program West Side, and we want that to be a park someday, there's all these other things that we want to decide to continue purchasing. And what if we get this grant to get Parkdale Park? How do we do all of this? And how do we grow this facility? So there's no one else building new parks right now, like with the city and county have basically said, you guys are collecting the STCs, they're out of the parks business. County's been kind of giving, you know, they are going to be giving away one of their parks to the state, the cities contracted all their parks, and they're, you know, they're not looking at, I think, building some new parks. I think they've talked about purchasing a couple with the urban renewal, but they want us to manage it. And so it's, I think that if we continue to grow, this has to be sorted out.
And the intent is May 26th.
That's, yes, I mean, that's what, when we are planning on putting at least the bond on the election, but is whether or not we put the levy maintenance or operations levy on there too. So, thanks. I will bring more to you in the future. And if you think of anything else that you want me to address, send me an email or give me a call. Move on to finance. So finance report, this is the, it's not quite the closed books yet, but the final report of that fiscal year. So the June 2025 year report. So this one should all be adding up. What I love is the revenue has come up to 104%. Expenditures at 92% for our general expenditures right there. So that's good that we're still spending underneath where we're at. Of course, there are still bills that that may come in a little bit, but so we are on a cash basis, anything that was paid the final fiscal year, this should be looking pretty pretty close, but of course, these are unaudited figures, and so we'll wait until we've got the audit back before we really say that we've closed out the year. This is good. Recreation fund, again, this one is so close, pretty much at 100% of revenue coming in and 101% on expenditures. And so we are getting better at figuring out this recreation thing and like where we're at. But remember that this is where in a year where the school district IGA, we actually brought in $134,000. Because they had one payment that was a little bit later that came in into this fiscal year. And so that's, you know, one of the things that brought this up. In the next budget, we don't have the IGA as part of it. And so if we were spending the same way that we have this year, next year, this will be in the negative. And so there's, and we have more challenges with the school district and everything, so we'll have to, this is something that we are looking to address right now. SDCs were not great this year, and Mike Howard had brought this up, I think at the last meeting or maybe the meeting before, about looking at a historic look. So I've got this chart right here, which goes back 8 years or so, looking at what our SDCs have done. So the blue line there is the SDCs collected inside the urban growth bound, or collected inside the city, but it's money that can only be spent inside the UGB. And then the other one is the county SDCs, everything outside of the city. And so, you know, there's reasons that this stuff goes up and down. The SDCs, of course, are tied to residential development or the development of hotels. So that's what we charge the SDCs on. And there are lots of different factors that affect residential development, being, you know, the market conditions, amount of available inventory, interest rates, the economy, all sorts of things. One of the biggest jump that we saw was up in the year 2022. That was the year that the Mountain Vistas subdivision out behind Rosar's phase 3 came online. And so that was 70 lots that all went for sale at the same time. And so it was easier for builders to build. And so there was a lot of building permits then. I think that was also the year that the Leeward apartments got permitted. And that was the first apartment building that was built in Hood River in 20 years. And that, I think it was about 30 units, so pretty small apartment building, but so there was a couple of anomalies that we saw with a big jump. But the downfall here was one that we just definitely were not expecting of dropping down to $34,000 was the total of what we brought in last year. When you contrast that to 278 in 2022. But I've reached out to the planning director. He says that things are, you know, been down, but a little bit normal. There's always things that he sees in his queue that you just don't know. There's been things that he's been talking about for years of a certain subdivision or a certain hotel project or different things that you know, I'm sure it's frustrating for them. They put a lot of work into it and then the financing falls through or something and it just doesn't get built or no one pulls the permits for it. So he's got, you know, there's a lot of things on the horizon. It's just one of those things where we don't know until it actually comes in. So I will continue to update you on this and where we're seeing the SDCs heading, but at least the lines kind of mirror a little bit. Last year was the first year that the county outdid the city, and then this year was an even bigger difference. But usually the city's bringing in a lot more just because they have a lot more land that they're building in. That's neat.
I don't know if they know about, there's the hotel that deferred their payment.
Yes.
Because of there's an agreement for them to pay, so like they would have come in 2025, I think.
Yep.
And so.
But their first payment won't be until this next fiscal year, and then it will be even payments over the next 5 years. Which was just kind of a one-time deal with that particular group. That's the Lightwell Hotel, and that's, I think, 77 units. And so we'll see 1/5 of 77 hotel units coming in over the next 5 years. So at least that is something that we can count on each year, that we'll be seeing those payments coming in.
Did we confirm that they cleaned up the language that led to that issue? Can't-
The city.
Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't really the language, it was the during the conference stuff, they didn't mention anything about RSTCs being a thing, and I think they didn't have an actual form for it or anything like that, that said that, but we've talked enough with the city that I'm hoping that it's doesn't happen again, but we can check and see if they've got anything on their website that because they had a special section for us, but it wasn't on the commercial development side.
Got
it. It's kind of an odd thing. But yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
So we're putting that together.
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for this. It's take into account COVID at the same time, and people have plenty of time on their hands and see those huge spikes for a couple of years too.
I think a lot of it is the inventory, there's not a lot of developers out there that are actually buying the land and going through all of the things of creative development, but when something like that went on the market. There's developers like, Curtis Holmes or these others that can just, or it's like, oh, great, I'll go buy 10 lots in there and I'll build those. Or, and so it was much easier for people to go out there and do that. There's a couple developers that used to do these kind of mini subdivisions of 15 homes, 30 homes and everything. They haven't been doing them as much recently, so. It is getting harder and harder to find the land to do that, so.
There's a small one on the west side, but all the utilities are being put in and all that. And we get the payment once the house is permitted, right?
Correct, yeah. All right, and then, this was the, improvement fund, which generally not very much movement this one. There hasn't been since. I think 3 or 4 months ago. Director's report, it's the new start of the new fiscal year. We have a new board member and just for Chase as well, who's a more recent board member. Just wanted to reiterate that we have these professional organizations. You should be on their email list. If you're not, let me know and I'll put you on. But SDAO, the Special Districts Association of Oregon, and ORPA, Oregon Recreation and Park Association, have great trainings. They're not just for staff, board members as well. Christy actually went to the SDAO conference this last year. There's this training right here. I have brought or gone with just about every board member. I think Marcy went with you, but I went with Mike and Martha before that. This is training that they do every other summer, the election years, that is really great for management and staff. But it's really good for board members to go to as well. That goes over a lot of the different things on, what is a public record, what is a public meeting, all of this stuff. So I would love to go, Jace, Brian, you might have been to this before. If you haven't, I would love to go with both of you guys, if you want to go.
On that 6th one, the 8th, 6th, the one here in town.
You know what? I think that would be great. They've never done one in Hood River before, and truth be told, I don't think I even looked in those. Yeah. So yeah, if on 8/6, you're available.
So do we know if this counts as the public meeting training? I'm guessing it does.
I don't think so, and I'm still waiting for SDAO to get theirs approved by the state. I think that they're waiting for it to be approved by the state.
I think that is not going to occur.
It's not, no.
Yeah, and then ethics.
Yeah.
And some of the other things are gonna be done straight out of the state, so we've already kind of transitioned away from that at the library, so I've done the ethics. And then I've done a bunch of STOs.
Yeah, the board meeting one was the one that became state law, that every board member that had to go to the,
During their term.
yeah, during their term, right?
So just so you know, I took it 8-9 months ago. That does not count for this.
Okay, so they do custom ones where they'll either come to us or they do these webinars once a month, and we'll just have to get on their list and do it. SDA,
It was on the
originally
same-
they were going to allow SDAO to do their own, and SDAO, like that, I think that's actually written into the law that, like, that they could do with approval from, and they've been trying to get approval for theirs. So if that's not happening, then we'll just have to go straight through the state for it.
And it was online and it was plenty of, all over the map in terms of schedules.
Yeah, it was a very sloppy rollout.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I will not, actually, I'll be out of town on the eighth, so we might send some, oh no, that's the sixth. I will
Yeah.
be in town on the sixth. I'm sorry, I was supposed to be here. Okay.
If it's a full, I'm not sure I can do it on the sixth, if it's a Wednesday, if it's like, oh, it's a Wednesday, which is six.
You're going to Klamath.
Yeah, I know, let's see.
Well,
Yeah,
look
I
at the
definitely-
calendar,
definitely, yeah.
let me know if you would like to attend one of these, and I will, if available, I will attend it with you.
Eileen Aiken is pretty, I mean, I think
Yeah.
does a really good job.
She's an attorney that specializes in special districts, and does a lot of work stuff with SDAO.
But I just wanna put a plug though for the public meeting one, like the one, it is required of us, though it's not required by, it's just required in your term at some time. What Eileen does touches on the topics, but the public meeting one goes into more detail and. I mean, there's ways that board members can be liable for mistakes. And if you don't even know that, then yeah, like you still can be liable, so. It just, if you haven't had a chance to do one yet, I would recommend trying to do it soon. I might even try to do a second one, because it was just like, wow, that's a lot of information. And I was in a session like with lots of people in person, and there were so many questions and people that have been like in positions for a long time asking questions, so. Yeah, I would recommend taking it when you can.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this training right here too, is I have, I mentioned that I go with all the board members each year, and I went originally for the first time by myself when I first started working here, so I've been to it 6 times, and it's the same training, and I get something out of it every single time. Sometimes from the people in the room that are asking questions and such, or some sort of little change that has happened, or, some laws have been updated with, spending limits and things like that, and I love, like, it's a really good training, so. And we will probably be sending staff members here too, from, we got the everyone special, so, yeah. All right. E-bikes, this one came out of I get comments written, but it's not straight to the board, but stuff that some people send the director, from time to time. I'd be happy to forward it on to the board too, if you wanted to just to see it, but, e-bikes get brought up, and it's starting to get more frequent that e-bikes are being brought up. The use, specifically the use of e-bikes on our trails, the Indian Creek Trail and the West Side Trail. We do have a no motorized, vehicles, listed in our rules, and I think e-bikes are kind of in a gray area with especially the people that are riding e-bikes on whether or not it's a motorized vehicle or not. And there's different classifications of e-bikes with whether or not it has a throttle button or whether or not it's just a pedal assist e-bike. Marcy and I talk about it all the time, that it's so interesting what people think that it should be able to get away with on an e-bike, that you would never put your child on a dirt bike and send them to school, but you'll see,
I mean, you should have seen
kids-
what I, like last
well,
week,
yeah.
I mean, horrible.
So, I'm sure we've all seen this, yeah, but, so they are a heavier bike, oftentimes, people are on them that are not maybe used to riding, like kind of more of like a motorized motorcycle or something like that. The email that the gentleman sent me had a lot to do with sidewalks and streets and things like that, and I did not. There's a lot more to it than just us. I also don't want to sit there and plan for what sort of rules we might do without talking to the city planners in the county and all these other groups that are all kind of grapple with the same thing. So I think what I would like to do is start kind of at the staff level with a lot of these other agencies and with law enforcement, just to kind of say like, okay, e-bikes are getting more popular. What is it that we're all kind of doing around there? And then kind of bringing it back to the board about, what we want to do about e-bikes on our trails. If we want to explicitly say, we believe that these are motorized vehicles, they should not be on the trail. Or we need to do some more research around it. We need to start changing the design of our trails or the signage on our trails or that sort of
And
thing.
just so you know, the state legislature has been working on a micromobility bill. And where basically now they are like defining all of the different types of e-bikes, the weight, the classification by weight, who can ride those and at what age. It has not passed yet, so basically now that they're out of session, it is, you know, until it is brought up again next year. It'll be, I assume it was a big one for this year's state legislature, so I'm sure that it'll be brought back up next year. The one thing that it does not, it has reduced the age to 14, as an allowable age for, rider or for drivers. It does not have anything about passengers. That was, so I'm on the, legislative committee for ORPA, and that was one of my comments, that I can't believe that they don't have like a passenger clause in there, like that a 14-year-old can have passengers, because there's no indication that they can't. But so anyways, it's still in the works, but comments and suggestions would probably be helpful to take back to that committee.
Is it that technically with this gray, I had thought that they were prohibited on Indian Creek?
The e-bikes?
Yeah.
Yeah, whether or not,
I mean, there's enforcement, I get
yeah,
it, but.
that's just the thing, like, we don't have any enforcement on any of our trails for anything there, but it's, whether or not it, like an e-assist, if you consider that a motor, like, if you're just pedaling and it's helping you pedal, or the throttle thing, I would say, I would make that determination on if you have a throttle, then it's, you know, using motor, but I don't know, we don't have that, we're not specific.
And
So-
for example, like, think about it in terms of like, if the Indian Creek Trail does get completed, and then you have kids, hopefully, I think one of the intentions is to get kids off the streets.
Yeah.
Onto trails
Yeah.
to get to school, and so it's just one.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a conundrum, right? So.
Yeah, we believe that they're probably, if I had a kid riding their bike to the high school, I would not want them on the side of the Indian Creek Road. With no shoulders or anything, I'd rather have them on the trail. And we live in a hilly spot where if they're expecting your kid to commute, e-bikes are an option that people might want to have for their kids, so. Yeah, I think that it's something that we'll have to grapple with, it's something that I went to a session 3 or 4 years ago at a National Recreation Park Association where the session was titled, like, what do we do with with e-bikes and all this stuff? And the people that were running the session didn't have the answer. They were just like, oh, here's a bunch of issues. And we were all kind of waiting for someone to give us the answer, and no one had the answer, because it's just been. There are so many different sides to it. You really want people to be out there using some of these things and being on the trail, but the user conflict and the issues that you can have with, you know, a person with a stroller and an inexperienced rider on a big heavy bike going way too fast going around the corner. There's concerns there for sure.
I panic just to think of the trail by your house and modification is necessary, banking that corner straight down to the river.
Yeah, yeah, it's, there's guardrails, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, but, oh my God, the pushback on putting a guardrail there,
Yeah.
you know, and there's a bench just looking out.
Yeah,
So you're saying like if they were explicitly allowed, they need to make adjustments.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Some of the more dangerous areas are definitely not easy to navigate, so how would you segment if you were to allow?
Multiple lanes.
I grew up, where Dairy Queen is at, it's like on a hill, right, and the back was, it used to be a trailer court, that's where I lived. And it was really steep to get up to the trailer court, and one of my cousins went down her bike and she had her brakes, well, she didn't brake with the right brake. And she flew,
Oh,
like I could see it, so I can,
Yeah.
not funny, not funny.
Now add a big heavy e-bike and.
When you said that, I was like,
Yeah,
Well,
Good
so
luck.
what do you want from us on this, like,
this is.
really it's an issue, but it's like so much bigger than us
It,
too.
that's exactly it. So I think that what the reason I put it in the director's report instead of the thing, you know, was just to let you know that it's on my radar, and I'll probably be bringing something back to the board at a later date that eventually I think we're gonna have to do things like define, is an e-bike a motorized bike? It's we've never really gone through the definitions of that, and we don't have that definition like within our thing, but even if we do, and we decide to do all that stuff, the reminder of our rules that we have stated on the signs are just more suggestions, because we do not have the authority or the ability to do any sort of enforcement. If someone calls me and tells me there was an e-bike on the trail today, I can't, you know,
There's nothing.
yeah.
And to the topic of staff being overworked and understaffed, like, do you have capacity for that next step?
It's probably not, but it's one of those things that I think that I'm going to reach out to the right people who I think will hopefully be, because I don't think that this is actually something that should really live with the Parks District, and that should be us leading it, but there's a person in the school district who's does a lot of the transportation stuff that I'm hoping can help lead and be the person that brings everybody together to start talking about this.
Yeah, unless we can do anything about enforcement, it's all moot, really.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just, when I got the email with all the other things in there, I just thought, this is not just a Parks District thing, this is a lot of different agencies, so I really wanted to have like all of them, because what I've seen often happen is each agency or different groups start creating their own different code or their own different decisions around what we're going to do with this same problem without talking, and I'd rather get us all together talking first.
Okay, so you're gonna kind of try to start the conversation.
Yeah.
And push for, hopefully there will be someone else facilitating.
I think that what I'll do is for the very first one, just say like, hey, I'd like to see if I can help kind of get this together, get everyone in the room, but I'm not going to own this whole thing where now I'm leading the e-bike task force or something like that, because it's not my deal. I just, but the obvious place for me to start is with everybody in the room instead of just like us individually trying to figure it out.
And I think by way of like definitions, like even just using the, where that Senate bill is for the micromobility bill is just a good place to start for those definitions, because all of those other agencies should be at least aware of that. It's been coming from.
It's just something about AI guy trying to decipher what that sign says when the wheel is missing behind the post and everything else. That's what
The shadows though.
Yeah. Feel your pain, guy.
Yeah, they did great on this biceps thing. Summer party up in Parkdale. This is great. I was so excited. I was like, oh, we're gonna take a whole bunch of pictures of this and then put it in our presentation. And Marcy was like, the presentation's due like a week before this. Then said, but I'm still gonna try and sneak a couple of the pictures of this into the presentation day up if I can. But I thought it would still be a good story of we're going out there to Parkdale, or that, when we're giving our presentation, I was just at Parkdale 3 days ago, and there was all these people, and they use it as a park and that sort of thing to help kind of tell the story. But I was also thinking about, if there's any stories we want to tell up there in Parkdale Park, if there's anything that, if.
I think, we're putting this on. I think if somebody wants to say something about it, like look at this event, it's beautiful, and this is what Parks and Rec can do with a lot of other places. And I could put the translating all at the same time, so it's in both languages, so you guys are welcome to do that during the event. I'll say something regardless.
Well, thank you for putting this on, and thanks for putting it in Parkdale Park, this is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Community.
Yeah.
So do you think like having a table or booth there that people can come up to, or are you thinking?
It's up to you.
Yeah.
We're offering people to come and table if they want. There's no fee, it's just really wanting the community to mingle together. One of the ladies that helped with the CUSA museums said that it's kind of divided, and the whole point of the event is to unite the community.
I wonder, about having like an actual presence there.
Or having something that represents Parks and Rec, a banner, or I don't know, whatever.
When Parkdale Park comes up, or when it's come up lately, I keep thinking about how we hear public comment about a lot of the other things. But I've been on the board 2 years, and I don't think we've heard public comment about Parkdale Park, so part of me is like, do people in Parkdale want to save it?
They do.
And
I
think, but
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it's just, and you know, we don't hear it directly, and maybe that's on us for not having a good way for that to occur, but we sure heard directly about Barrett Park a few months ago, you know, like that sort of thing. So I don't know if this is a time.
Again, I
to
think it goes
hear-
back to our telling our story and, you know, Linda Maddox
Yeah.
suggested having a projects page. And so I think that, you know, make, like, how many people are aware that, you know, even possibly an issue for them because it's
Yeah.
always been there.
Yeah,
You know, and for the people who do, they're like, of course we want you to, you know, so I mean, I think it's a little bit of like, how many people know,
yeah.
right? So lots of work to do on messaging.
Well, I will at least be attending it, just personally, I was already going to be there and taking pictures and everything like that, but I was actually, the person that sent me this poster was, Michael Mills, the owner of the property, and he was like, I hope I'll see you there, so.
who, does anybody do the maintenance on it right now or not?
Yeah, Michael has, I don't know who's doing it this year, but he's traditionally been, a guy, I think Micah, who lives across the street, the people that were doing the wedding,
They're
venue
still
there. Yeah, they were doing.
Cause it looks a little shabby and I have a couple of volunteers, that are willing to help, but I don't wanna like step over.
Oh, I can put you in touch with Michael, cause I'm not sure if they have that deal going this year with the wedding venue group. There was
Yeah,
some
it says
issue.
that they're not.
Yeah, cause I don't think, he didn't, I don't think he wanted to commit to a very long-term thing with knowing that we could be purchasing it midway through and some other things, and so they were. And so, yeah, I'm not sure, he had somebody that was living in the house there, but I think that person has just moved out, I think they were trading like some maintenance and such for it.
Got
so.
it. Okay.
But yeah, I will put you in
I'll look out for
contact with him.
Put it on my calendar. We'll try to
Good.
get there.
Yeah.
Fun.
And then, I just snuck this one in. Oh, I used a little slide there, but, yeah, so the bench is in, you probably noticed it when you walked in today. That, the bench honoring Naomi Frisbee, so there was, her, what would have been 104th birthday party, last week on the same day as our, as our open house, but the water rubbish group had a big potluck here and they dedicated the bench on that day, so.
So amazing.
So yeah, it's it was great to finally to get it installed and put in right there on that day. And it all tied up with a ribbon to the unveiling of the plaque at the moment, so. Yeah, was very thankful to the board for allowing it. It's been an honor. So that I close the loop. And say that. And then one last one right there, so this one was another one we kind of snuck in there, but we want to talk to you just a little bit about the recreation programming versus contract programming that we've got going on, so typically we've done our contract programming with for recreation, which is when we have an outside group that goes through us for registration, and they will usually provide marketing, we put them in our newsletter, we go out there and physically try and get people to go to their programs like out in the schools and such. We take in the registration, collect all the money, distribute that and back to the groups, and we usually do like a 70-30 split, which this is very standard in Parks and Recreation. There's a lot of places that do a split with a contractor. We're usually the ones that are in charge of booking the facilities for them, and now a lot of that's kind of with the new the school district now allowing groups to book directly through them. And now kind of talking about the whether or not they're going to start charging or not. It is throwing us into having to kind of rethink how we do this. So the first group that decided not to register with us and to leave us was the brand new soccer association. And so 3rd through 8th grade soccer now will be out on their own. They are now taking their own registration, and they are booking directly through the school district and not doing anything with us. They did come back and said, well, we still would like to partner with you. There's some things we would like to do. the things that they had brought up in their meeting was, marketing and outreach, event management, and, coaching resources. And so we are starting to talk about like the different things that we could do here and ways that we could help. That there's some issues here with some of this, which is like if we are doing marketing and outreach and we're sending things out on our newsletter with our logo and saying like, hey, register for soccer and everything, and people are coming, there could be some confusion over whose program it is, and people see Parks and Rec, the one sending the thing, and now we don't own it as much as we did when we were taking on the registration and we were in charge of all the stuff, especially like when people come in and they're like, hey, I got this newsletter from you. Can you tell me who my coach is? And we don't have any of that data, whereas, before we did have some of that. Event management was kind of the same. If we've got like our staff out there, Gio's out there with his logo on managing an event where it's not our program. We don't know the coaches. We don't know the fields. We're not renting the fields, any of that. How we would exactly fit in there, and so trying to avoid the confusion of doing something along those lines. And the coaching resources seems like actually a pretty easier thing for us of being able to go out there and help with doing coaching clinics and things, because we do have some soccer experts that work for us, and this is one that would probably be more specific just for soccer. But we had these conversations within staff of like what we could do. We've talked about doing maybe an a la carte thing where we say either like a flat fee or a percentage, like 10% for to do marketing and outreach, 10% to do event management, 10% for this, and kind of doing like a bundle plan. And if you do registration, you'll get the whole thing, and what we really want to do here is push people toward registration. We want to get them back and registering through us again. Soccer group had said that the reason that they didn't do registration through us is they just didn't like our software system. It was very clunky. We were reserving it free from the school district. And that's why we used it, because it was free. That was something that the school district, part of their IGA, was paying for, but now we don't really like it either. We use it for our own swim lesson registration. We've decided that, and you guys know this, put in the budget, that we are going to be reaching out and doing our own registration software, or contracting to get a better one that's made specifically for recreation, for Parks and Recreation. So we are still trying to kind of grapple with how exactly we can bring in revenue and make sure that we're also not, we're charging actual dollars of like what it will take for us to do this, so that we're recouping some. But it would be good to recoup some of this stuff, but at the same time without letting these groups kind of with trying to figure out how we would do that and making sure that's not confusing for the public, and that we are not representing a group that we have no control over, or we have no oversight over.
On the flip side,
Yeah.
I think these are, just. There could be opportunity for bringing in some considerable revenue, like if you think about things like with advertising, advertising typically you're charging or promoting something is something that you can charge at a pretty high rate, and probably wouldn't take that much as much administrative time from our staff. It could be something that, like we clearly have as like, these are our unaffiliated programs, right? Not affiliated with the school district, that clearly have like a template sort of format where like it's always like bordered in red and, or something like that. That's like, it has like, it's a clear and distinct different look from our own promotional material. The event management, so when I've been thinking about this, we went through, and especially for soccer, and we're doing it for all of the rec programming, we really have dug in deep about like how much staff time is spent in various areas, right? And so like when I think about like the cost to do programming or whatever, like we really have to think about with our staff, how much time are they having to do these things? So like event management is probably one of the bigger areas where I see the value to the contracted programs. Like from their perspective, like they're like, this is already a volunteer-led nonprofit organization. We, are already at capacity for running this nonprofit to like run this programming. We don't also want to be on the field on game day managing the crux and like the administrative headache of that. And, you know, they probably also want somebody who can be like, actually, it was the right call that, you know, that whatever, you know. So yeah, like some of like the technical sort of thing. So like there could be an advantage to having that. But it, again, the thing to think about is like how much time that's taking, like for, especially for soccer, like Gio or Jaime, who they would want there, you know, away from other things that they could be working on to support district needs. So like when we're
Or
thinking,
generate.
or generate other, yeah, future programming or other programming that they could be working on. But, I mean, again, it's something that we could charge at a higher rate, because if that's a value to them, then it's something that could have a price tag to it. So I think that what we're looking for is just like, do you feel like these are things that we should be moving towards, like some sort of à la carte, more à la carte menu?
Question, are we still, do you guys know the school district's still planning? I mean, last I heard when I talked to the school board members, they're, or what, the one I spoke with extent for quite a bit. They still intend, at least on her mind, give us the priority over these programs as far as program scheduling goes. If it's our program, if it's a Parks and Rec program.
Yeah.
So is there any way where someone who's going in through us can say, well, we're now affiliated with us for that extra 10% to give them a priority over the private programs out there? So is there a way to, I mean, yeah, that, you know, you understand what I'm saying.
So we sent back a revised facility
Yeah.
use agreement to them, drafting more consistency and language. And saying that, in the proposed draft that I sent, I took out, that it, the language that any district run program. So I took out whether or not they had in a contracted program versus a non-contracted program. And then I cleaned up all of their language and made sure that it was like, and basically it was just anything that the district does for parks and youth parks and rec services. That had priority over a nonprofit who did the same type of service that was different, that didn't work with us. And then adults,
Yeah.
because that was also a sticking point, took, lower priority, beyond that.
But that we don't know, that the
That hasn't
draft
been
to be sent in.
That
we
hasn't
haven't
been
heard
approved
anything
yet.
Right.
Yeah. That's what, yeah.
I like what you're talking about here and thinking creatively and all that. My question really lies more within like the pinch point of. When we secure spacing versus registration for people and cart before the horse and the imaging on that, if we're like, cool, we have all these things for you. Yet we can't actually secure that space. I don't know how many times we could burn somebody before they would be like, yeah, we're not gonna go with you, no matter how great that is. So it's really about if people come to us, what guarantee do we have that we can secure that for them before they start the process?
Well, I mean, I think at this point, the school district so far is saying that. And in their, even in their own drafted language, that district-led programs would have priority over nonprofit. Other not youth nonprofit. Whether or not they go with all Hood River affiliated programs remains to be seen, or, you know, if it, programs that are contracted. Remains to be seen.
And if that happens by potentially September 26th or whatever they were saying, they may change, does that make everything else null and void? I mean, that was our conversation before of what stage where we have to say it's time to pull the ripcord.
Well, the IGA is good for another year. One of the things that we also suggest was renegotiating the IGA. You know, and ensuring that a facility use agreement was, you know, we have a facility use agreement that we're working with right now. And, talking about any pinch points that they have and still continuing to work under, an annual, an updated facility use agreement each year.
So really, I mean, we would have at least a year to try this on for size and see how it goes.
I mean, it does kind of depend. I mean, I feel like right now we're still in a little bit of a waiting game to hear about the communication coming down from the school district. It does not feel, there could be the possibility as part of their, as part of the facility use agreement right now, we don't charge one another for facilities. And as part of their suggestion, they're saying, yes, we want to, begin charging you after a year's time. After the IGA, it sunsets. So the question is, we can continue to try to get them, I think what we've been trying to do is say, we would like to continue to work with you. Let's continue to talk about the pinch points that we have, and if we can renegotiate the facility use agreement each year and update our IGA and re-sign in another year.
I think the question we wanna kind of get at right now, though, is how important is that, like, for someone to partner with Parks and Rec, what does that mean, and how important is the registration side of it? If so, because like to us, originally our goal with going with contractors and these other things was so that we would become like a public clearinghouse, like anyone that's doing that has a kid that's doing a program. All goes to the same place for registration. And if all these different user groups start splitting up and doing their own registration program in all these different spots, we're going kind of against that mission. So that's, if we're offering services to them where they're not registering through us, one, it could create some confusion. The other is that there's less incentive for them to come in and contract through us by not doing the registration part. Right now, it's been just about everybody except for Little League and swim team and water polo. And there's a couple others that register on their own, but like most places were coming through us. Now we're at a point where if you're registering a first grader and a third grader for soccer, you need to go to two separate websites, create two different logins, page and two different spots, and the public just doesn't understand that. So we'd like to be able to bring it all back to where you can do it all from the same shopping cart. And so if we are offering marketing, event management, coaching, and all these other things, and they're not taking the registration from us, we're moving kind of away from that goal, and it still is something confusing the public. So whether or not the board thinks that we should be exploring these things of doing the à la carte menu and offering all these different things, or if we should really say, like, if you're partnering with us, you're doing registration, and that's part of what we're doing.
I received some feedback from somebody who works with soccer on this topic, which I'll share with you when we check in too, because it's like kind of in the weeds, but I think one of my big takeaways was this is a little bit of our own doing by not having addressed the registration issues sooner. That it's not been a great system, and we all know that. You get what you pay for. It was free, like that's a justification. Sure, it's free, but you get what you pay for. And so I think we should be considering other approaches right now, and in the meantime, be continued with the plan you have to figure out what a better system is, and they may come back, others may
Right.
come back, but like, I don't feel like we should right now force people to use our registration system.
No.
That they're super frustrated with.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that we are in progress with the registration system, which is great. We've done quite a few demos. We're moving into our second phase on that. And I think the goal is like part of what they can do is help with a lot of that communication through automatic text messaging and email blasts if there's, an issue and that sort of thing. So hopefully they'll see it as a decrease in the headaches that they're having to deal with, administratively. So, future goal, yes, would be to get them back.
Their new system isn't great either. I had to
Yeah.
register my kid for football and soccer.
Mhm.
And it looks like the same system, but then you don't see all the sports your kids registered in. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not any
Yeah.
better.
Right. Well, it might be better. It's a more modern, that's for sure.
It's more modern, but it's
But
still complicated.
More user,
It's not,
yeah.
I didn't think it was. And it was probably because I was used to maybe the other one, but
It sounds like there may be room for mutual benefit of finding a better system that's better than what they have. And better than what we currently have, that then would be compelling to then work together more directly again.
See,
So I mean, I think it sounds like it's gonna be pretty hard right now because there's so many unknowns.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what the school
Right.
district's gonna do. we don't-
Columbia Brook Soccer in particular is wanting an answer from us about the direction. They're like, we would love to work with you and we would love to, offer support, but here are the things that we can do. And so, we started to take a little bit of a deeper dive into what that would look like, how much staff time it is. And so, so football, for example, too, that while they did go out on their own, they were asking for less than a 70. They wanted to take in more, they wanna, figure out how to take in more revenue and they wanna give us less, basically, they want the same services for less. And so,
The coaching thing doesn't work, they're volunteer.
sorry, I mean, so we're getting these types of questions and just trying to figure out how to best answer them, and people are waiting for our answers. And we said, as staff, we started working on it, and then we're like, you know what, let's bring this to the board because this was just last week.
Well, what do they want the break to, or what do they want the cost to be?
They didn't tell us that, and we haven't asked them that.
Well, so for football,
I mean,
Either of them.
or soccer, I was
yeah,
just saying.
yeah, they're saying make us an offer. They say that the 70-30 was too much.
Yeah.
But then, and I've heard some flat fee stuff of just tell us a flat fee, but our issue with flat fees is if we do that, it's not,
Yeah.
and we just would like to add more time. We can say maybe a flat fee, except for if you have over this many people or something like that. We also don't want to make it too complicated.
Well, I mean, even when I used to work with community ed, like when we were running the Gorge Kids Triathlon, like we'd have to come in and negotiate what the fees are. So I mean, that's pretty normal. I mean,
Yeah, but the problem with that with community ed when they were doing it was there was a different deal for every user group.
no, that absolutely
And,
was.
and,
yes.
and so that, when we took over community ed, that was the very first thing we said was everybody's the same.
Oh.
We're not negotiating separate things to where like soccer gets this deal and then lacrosse gets this deal, because the issue was when they did that, and because when community ed was working in our office up here,
Mhm.
I'd hear the complaints all the time, it's just like, oh, this deal, this handshake was made back in, 2008 by these people, and now they get this field for free, and these people want it and everything, and it was just, you couldn't justify any of it, because they'd say, why does this group get it and this group doesn't? And so we really want to have something that's transparent that each group gets without having to negotiate these specific deals for each group.
So what would be a reasonable middle ground for everybody, for, I mean, 25%? I'm just curious what you think, like,
Well,
or,
the a la carte, what we were saying was 10% on each of these different
and you guys can
items.
quantify those pretty easily, like.
Yeah, and then if we said, like, they would all add up to like 30% for this stuff, and then if they do registration, it's just a flat 30 and you get all these things. And so it's kind of like one of those, like a bundle thing of like doing a cable thing, where all, they're all different dollar amounts together, but, so we were talking about trying to do something, something like that, that then we'll try and incentivize and push people toward doing the registration for us. But what we're not going to do is do stuff where we're subsidizing them and losing money on it, which is, I think, what a lot of the groups have said, like, we want more services. Football in particular, they wanted us to cover their insurance. Well, we talked with our insurance agent, trying to figure that, and finally the insurance was just like, no, unless you guys are the ones running the program, we're not giving insurance to another group.
Would it still make sense if you said if you did the whole thing registration with us, then it's just 25% across the board? Like just, I mean, so it's a more substantial cut, but really encourage them to get, I mean, how, I'm just curious, who knows what the numbers will be?
Well, that's
Check them.
That's the thing is, that, that chart I showed you earlier with the recreation.
Yeah.
If we were doing everything exactly how we did this year and didn't have the school district, we'd be down $100,000.
As is.
And so for us to cut how much we're charging right now when we're already in that deficit, it wouldn't make sense. So I think that we either need to start focusing on doing our own programs if we can make them work in-house.
Yeah.
And we've kind of been hit or miss with that. Some of the programs we've done in-house, we've done really well on. Other ones like summer camp this year is, I think we're at half enrollment of what we normally are each year. There's a lot more summer camps out there right now. The Bay Street Elementary, what's the name of that group?
Champions.
Champions is offering a summer camp that looks almost identical to ours this year. Out of the May Street School where we were doing it last year. So there's a lot of different, there's competition, we're going, you know. And we've done some programs where we'll put it out there and it doesn't do nearly as well as others. Usually it's the big one when it's like mini World Cup. That have a lot of people coming in that will do more, but then we put more staff time to it, so.
So the other potential is just to reduce programming substantially.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's just another realistic.
Or,
option, too.
yeah,
And focus on other, I mean, basically now our staff is trying to figure out other things, other things that we could do. So like we've talked about, like, we have a facility where we can do programming like pickleball and tennis. What about, pump track? So like there could be some sort of, but the question is, you need numbers.
Yeah.
To have large amounts of numbers in order to get the revenue starting to come in. And so like programs like our traditional sports are the things, and where you can have it on fields are the things that can help increase that revenue.
I wonder if the flat rate, but flat rate based on number of
Percentage.
enrollees, might be better received, because I could see how this just feels like you're just taking a cut and like, what am I getting for it versus. And I know they're getting a lot for it, but if it's flat fees for, the marketing and outreach, making sure that you cover your costs to do it, that they may then see the value more than when it's this 30% cut that just feels like you're just taking a whole bunch of the money we're bringing in.
Yeah.
And it's more like amorphous, like, what is this for? So I think it's a worthwhile thing to try to figure out, like, those packages and what would that realistically cost? And it may be too much and they won't want it.
We have done a pretty deep dive in like the actual cost and hours spent on each thing. And then, then where that charge amount would where it would actually be. And we're coming in for soccer in particular, like if you're looking at it based on program, close to that for those buckets at close to 10%. I mean, give or take. So.
What isn't the real value add for us is a new registration system.
yeah,
I mean, this interim step is.
And the new
Hopefully.
registration system's gonna be, it's needed, it's necessary for just facilitating swim lessons, our pool, and all of our current program.
The fields is the other one.
Right.
Right, so if we had the ability to schedule the fields for them as it has been in the past, that is a big value add.
Right, or just like all of the administrative lift of navigating that. And I guess our hope as well is that, I do think that the school district has gotten quite a bit of feedback. We certainly have given them plenty of feedback in their first go round of the process of scheduling. What I think I think they haven't even implemented their new Facilitron, which is their new facility scheduling thing. I think that they believe that it's going to be a smooth and easy transition. What I'm hopeful of is that they will begin to recognize the things that our staff has been doing, in the past few years to navigate that administrative headache, like the doors are still locked. Hey, school district here, who's gonna unlock the door, to the gym? So, so that's, a little bit of time will tell, and just, still trying to keep that door open with them to say, hey, there's still time to renegotiate, like figure out this IGA facilities, still kind of working with that angle.
so yes, right now, it sounds like interested in us creating some sort of an a la carte with, and trying to find some sort of a way, maybe flat fees up to a certain, level or something like that, but with the caveat of continuing to, work with the school district on their plans, but also once we get the registration in, to try and push people back to a registration, that's the whole goal. And also reaching out to these groups as we're doing this to try and say, like, what is it that you really want with registration? Are you willing to come back? Really trying to push them to come back to the registration, but working with them until we get that registration in some certain other way. Just trying to like not undersell us and set some precedent, something like that. Like, no, actually, we like this. We were gonna, but we can always change that later. And also, it's just gonna have to pencil out for us because we've got a certain amount of fund balance that we're gonna roll over to this next budget. But outside of us either figuring out a way to like create a bunch of revenue with all this, which it sounds like most of the user groups that we work with just want to pay less and less or not want to pay at all. So unless we can find new ways to make money or pass some sort of levy to subsidize it, we're looking at some decisions on recreation on you know, how we're able to continue to manage it, because we don't have any extra money for recreation. And we've talked about earlier in this meeting with all of the budget woes of where we're at. We can't take on more. We can't push more of the recreation to the never, you know, when we took this from the school district, we said we would do it if we could pay for it,
And, you know, and then what happens?
you know, using their facilities. Right. Yeah. So. Okay. That is it for director's report. There is an executive session that is kind of a brief, you know, follow up from the board right here. So.
Okay,
Lost our public, so he's gone.
oh, well, yeah, we still need to say it. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this and then you'll stop the recording, correct? Okay. We are going to be entering into executive session for ORS 192-660I to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the chief executive officer of any public body, public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing. The district board will now meet in executive session. All members of the audience are asked to leave the room. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room.